What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode. We have a special guest, returning guest, civil rights attorney. You also advise state representatives from Michigan, from Illinois. You were behind some of the bill of the Safety Act, in which Republicans hate Illinois. Would that be correct?
Yep.
Attorney Carlton T. Mayers. Okay. The third. How you doing, brother?
Second.
Oh, the second. I'm sorry. Yeah, the third would be if you have a son, correct?
Right,
You
exactly.
All right. Second. And you are the founder and CEO of Mayor's Strategist Strategic Solutions. And number one, we're dealing with another police shooting. And it's so sad because he died. And Mr. Dexter Reed. And when I saw the case, at first I heard that it was unarmed. That wasn't true. This the brother. He's deceased. And when I first heard the report, and I want to get your expertise on it because you have more information than me. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx said he shot at the police. The mayor said the same thing, that and they're going to investigate, etc. But now it's looking like some things kind of shift up. You got activists, some I know personally, protesting right now, and they want the officers that shot him fired. So, what's your thoughts? Did you pick a side? Do you blame the police? Do you blame the deceased, Mr. Dexter? Who do you blame, or is there any blame in the situation?
Well, I guess for me, it's not I'm not really focused on blame just yet. Well, number one, I want to say thank you for having me on your show. It's always a pleasure to be here. Always awesome speaking with you as well. So that's number one. Number two, so right now I'm still trying to get all the information. So thus far, what I have seen based on the body-worn camera footage that has been made public by COPA, which there's plenty of it, and not only body-worn camera footage, even security surveillance footage. There's all kinds of footage, even from people that live in the neighborhood who pulled out their camera phones. All of that footage you can find on COPA's website. So I looked through pretty much all of it. And the one thing I noticed that stood out to me, beyond the excessive shooting of Dexter Reed Jr., was really the way that the CPD officers involved in the shooting, the way that they engaged with him during the initiation of the engagement or the interaction or the stop, however you want to define it. The reason why I don't say stop is because I haven't seen any video footage of the officers actually pulling his vehicle over. Every single vantage point that I've seen from all the footage, it starts off with his car already being stopped. And it looks like there's a Chicago CPD police car already next to it that's separate from the car that the plainclothes officers are coming out of, right? So there's already a car that's there that's not their car. So it makes me wonder, was there another officer that stopped him, or did they stop him? There's a lot of confusion about this narrative that for me, that's why I can't even say who's blaming for what, because we just don't know enough information to be able to establish a full comprehensive story. But what I do know is this: regardless of however the stop was initiated, what I do know is that the initial interaction that those officers, the ones who we see in the video that are in plain clothes, a part of that tactical team, and that are engaging him, I think 2 at the driver's side, 1 on the passenger side. What I noticed was that when they first engaged him, they were in plain clothes. It didn't seem as if they announced themselves. And I know it did say police on their vests, but, I mean, if you're living in a certain kind of neighborhood, there are a lot of people that walk around wearing like bulletproof vests that say police on them or security or something. That doesn't mean that they're actually police. You actually have to announce yourself. That's usually the number one way that people know that you're an officer, unless you're wearing the actual clothing, the attire of a police officer. If you're in plain clothes, you pull out that badge and you announce yourself. That's what you do. That there's no ambiguity. We're all clear on what's going on here. Okay, this is who we are. and you know the expectation when we engage with you. That didn't happen. At least from my vantage point, what I saw in all those videos that are on COPA, it just seemed as if they showed up and they immediately asked him to drop the window on both sides, both the driver and passenger side. And he looked like he was trying to comply, but then was not, because the window was going up and down. And I guess I read that on the passenger side, he did not drop the window at all. It was only on the driver's side. So to me, the first thing I think, if I'm a law enforcement officer, I think about my training, right? Because that's the whole point of being trained, is so that when you're in these kinds of situations, you have something to rely upon that gives you a reference on how you should conduct yourself, how you should respond in these kind of gray area type of situations, right? Because it's not black and white. And so to me, I would rely upon my training if I was them. And my training, okay, we know this for a fact because, you know, Chicago is under a federal consent decree because Chicago Police Department officers have been found to violate the constitutional rights of Chicagoans, specifically Black and brown like Chicagoans who are living in the south and west sides of Chicago. Okay, that's a fact. We know that. So we know that as a part of the consent decree, all Chicago Police Department officers are required annually to undergo de-escalation training. Okay, so if I know that, you know, I'm in a weird situation, I'm going to rely on my training in that moment, right? And my training, my de-escalation training dictates, and this is across the board, no matter where you are in the world, this is what de-escalation training dictates, is that when you're in a situation like that, it's all about slowing down the situation, not speeding it up. In other words, de-escalating, let's slow things down. Let's create space, because when you are in somebody's personal space, including near their vehicle, and you're not wearing the regular Chicago Police Department attire, you have not announced yourself, right? That alone is going to make somebody escalated. Like, whoa, who are you? You're telling me to drop my window. I don't really know who you are. And then now you're pulling out a gun on me. Now you're yelling and you're cursing at me. Everything I just said, that is not in line with the de-escalation training that every single Chicago Police Department officer, including those 5 who were involved in this incident, have to receive. Not could receive, not should receive. No, they're required to receive it. They're mandated to receive it. So they did receive it.
So because when I talk to some officers, they say, Wiley, what you're saying about de-escalate, that sounds good. But in reality, you can't always go by a textbook training. When you're in a real world solution, a real world scenario, the training sometimes not necessarily goes out the window, but you got to think about going home because an officer was shot. And I understand that. And according to the mayor's office, if the bullet would have went about a couple of inches, he would have been deceased as well. So I understand both parts. This situation, unfortunately, we have to preach to our youth that, and also I just don't agree with the police not having on uniform. Let's go there. I don't understand being in plain clothes. I just don't get that. Just wear the uniform. And a lot of officers, unfortunately, they love to cuss. And when I was talking to people, they said that's not illegal. Because in the police, they train you, hey, they be so professional, but when you get real world, they cuss and all of that. And Black people have a problem, some of them in the hood, of dealing with white people with authority. And some Blacks, you know, struggle with authority in itself. I mean, let's keep it real. We have to have a real conversation. And Dexter, to me, if it was me, I don't know. First of all, I want to have a gun. And that's number one. And number two, maybe because I'm used to police officers and I'm used to not being aggressive with cops. So I don't know. I just, in this situation, it's not a George Floyd, is not a Mr. McDonald that got shot 16 times. To me, it looked like he was, Dexter was a part of the issue, and the officers was too. But I don't think it was they went aboard force. I think they did everything textbook. I think that Dex was wrong to shoot that officer, and of course, I do sympathize with the family, but I also understand that officers have to make it home to their families as well. And in this particular case, I'm with the police officers because Dexter should have complied, and he didn't. And we as African Americans have an issue with that. So does the mayor. Well, he don't have an issue of calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, but he have an issue of calling out bad behavior in the Black community. Yes, there are some bad apples in the police department, but there's more bad apples in the Black community. I mean, look at the data, the crime, the Kia boys, they're robbing. They're robbing at a high rate. And the police, because of defund, it does not work. And the police is like, well, let them commit crime. And people say, well, they reload. An officer do not know if he's still a threat. And your job as an officer to neutralize a threat, they don't have a limitation on how many clips they can put in a body. I could be wrong. But if you already hit a police officer, you're asking for your death wish. I'm just being honest. I'm being honest. If you hit a police officer with a weapon, that is the end of your life. Period, point blank. We cannot be politically correct. You got to understand the police have a right to defend themselves. And if you hit one of them, they will take you out, period. Now, I have a question to you, sir. Was he a license to carry, or was that an illegal firearm? Because I'm not clear on that.
Well, everything I've heard has said that it was an unregistered gun.
So that's a crime.
We don't know. No, right. Well, okay. I just want to respond to what you just said. So, because you just said a whole lot. Okay, and I also wanted to finish what I was saying about de-escalation, because I think that would have responded to what you said before you said
I understand de-escalation. You said sir and all of that, but I talked to plenty of officers. They're saying that Black people like Dexter, people in the hood, it just don't work with de-escalation. That's what they're saying to me. So I don't know. You can challenge that on.
Well, I'm going to challenge it, because one thing that I don't like people in the Black community making excuses for bad behavior in our community. I also don't like when law enforcement are making excuses for bad behavior within their department as well. In my opinion, everybody needs to be held to account. And usually when you have instances like this, there's never just one side that's at fault. It's usually multiple sides that are at fault. And so I don't want to go saying, oh yeah, we should just blame Dexter. And I also don't want to go and say, oh yeah, we should blame CPD. In my opinion, I think each one of them has played a role in this situation, resulting in what we have, which is a dead, person who did not need to be dead. And we have an officer who's wounded who did not need to be wounded. Okay. And so that goes back to what I was talking about, which I do want to finish up because I think it's going to answer a lot of what you said, which is de-escalation training. Okay. Because I don't know if your audience knows my background. I used to direct NAACP National's Criminal Justice Reform Program back when Ben Jealous was president. And I did that for 2.5 years. After that, I worked at NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund Incorporated under Sherrilyn Ifill's leadership for 2.5 years as the policy counsel for the policing reform campaign. So I've worked on the Ferguson consent decree, the Baltimore consent decree, over 2.5 years. We've done our own pattern of practice investigation on the North Charleston, South Carolina Police Department after Walter Scott's death. And I've also worked on negotiations for Chicago's consent decree way early on, back when Rahm was the mayor. Okay, so I've done a lot. I've done more than that. I've done a lot of this work for years now. And when I work with law enforcement. I'm not an abolitionist. I'm not a defund person. I'm what they call a reformist. So I work with law enforcement. I don't work against them, but I do work against bad law enforcement or bad policing. I'm never going to support that, right? I'm only going to support good policing. So, I just want to put that out there, number one. Number two, Anybody who supports good policing, anybody who works with police, will tell you that whoever your friends are, they just gave you a pile of BS. Okay. De-escalation training, and this is what I've learned from working with law enforcement from all around the country. If they're law enforcement who are in service, if they are law enforcement who are retired, right? This is what they have told me numerous times over and over again. And I've also been in de-escalation trainings. I've witnessed it. This is the way de-escalation training is supposed to work out. I'm gonna tell you right now, okay? So when we think about the Dexter Reed Jr. situation, you have to look at the way that law enforcement engage with community, because you have to understand there's a reason why Chicago Police Department is under consent decree. They're not under consent decree just for using excessive force on Black and brown people in the South and West sides of Chicago. They're most importantly under consent decree because of how they interact with Black and brown people, especially in the West and South sides of Chicago. And when I talk about interact, that doesn't have to do with use of force necessarily. That doesn't even have to do with arresting people. That has to do with just doing what we're doing right now, just talking to people, right? Like, how do you talk to people in the community who you are there to serve? In other words, you're being paid from their taxpayer dollars. We do live in a capitalist democracy, which means that if I'm paying for you, I have some influence over how you do your job. I mean, you can't just roll up into a McDonald's and the person working there give you a nasty attitude for no reason, and you don't have a way to talk to their supervisor or boss, and then they're held to account. You can't just walk into a car dealership and the person working there gives you a nasty attitude and you can't talk to their supervisor and hold them to account, right? Like, that's not the way that democracy and capitalism work, all right? So if that's the case for a McDonald's, for car dealerships, etc., why should law enforcement be an exception? Okay, because I don't know about you, Marcus, but I know me back in the day when I was younger, before I was an attorney, I was doing a lot of jobs where I was a salesperson. Okay, I had to do a lot of customer service, or even had to do some hospitality work. I had to work in the food industry as well. These are all different industries that I imagine a lot of people who probably listen to your programming either work in or have worked in or know somebody who works in that industry. And if you talk to anybody that works in that industry, they will tell you the number one thing that the employers in that industry emphasize with their employees is customer service. And you know what that means? That means that they train you. That means that they hold you to account. That means that they provide you resources so that you are doing the job to their expectation. And if their expectation is the expectation of their customers, of their patrons, then that is the expectation of you to conduct yourself in that job. And they have training that they provide to you on a regular basis to make sure that you adhere to that, right? Even CBS and Rite Aid do that. They give you trainings. Okay, so I'm sorry. I disagree with you, and I disagree with your colleagues. That sounds like a bunch of excuses and a pile of crock, okay? Right, I just want to say, is anybody who works for any employer that has to do with customer service, they have to undergo training. And if they violate their training, then that means you're probably going to get suspended or lose your job. So all I'm trying to say is this: let's not try to give law enforcement an exception when the rest of us have to deal with this stuff, okay? They have to deal with it just as much as we do. So I just want to, let me finish what I'm saying, but I just want to push back on that, because in my opinion, law enforcement are community members just like the rest of us. They have to contribute to public safety solutions just like the rest of us. They do not deserve any exceptions or any ways out of doing that. We're all in this together. We all have to take accountability for what happens in our community. Okay, no exceptions. I want to start off with that, because we have to own this community. Okay, we have to own it, and owning it means that you have to take it to account when you do something you were not supposed to do. All right, if it violates your training, then that means that you need to be held to account, because then what's the point of giving you the training? Okay, so I'm going to put that down right now, because that doesn't make any sense for anybody who works in food industry, hospitality, or customer service or sales, that you get trained on how to engage with people, you don't adhere to the training, and then you're expected to keep your job, to continue to make money, continue to get promoted. That doesn't make any sense, okay? That's not the way that this country works, and so that's not the way law enforcement in this country should be expected to work either. And also, I want to put that down, but can you let me just?
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, that right there, I'm sorry, it did not make any sense. I had
Because
to shut
also
it down.
too, though,
just
I
had to.
was
It
I
didn't
was
make
more,
any sense.
and also let me challenge on the community part. These youth are disrespectful, a lot of them.
Yep.
And Brandon Johnson, I feel like he's very weak on the youth, and he need to call it what they are, criminals. Because you can't say to a taxpayer that have a car that's working every day to say, well, they're just teenagers. If they're getting robbed, they're a criminal, right? And a lot of the youth, the black youth in Inglewood and West Side, are the most disrespectful people in the city. And so that's just a fact.
Yep.
And when are the black community, the leaders, the civil rights folks, the mayors, to be honest, they're committing the most crime. Just look at the stats. And to be honest, the Safety Act, I want to just challenge it. I believe it failed black youth and it emboldened them to commit more crime. To be honest, the judges and the secretary, the Cook County State's attorney, there need to be, if you violate guns, have an unregistered weapon, the state need to change the law a minimum of 10 years. It's a evil spirit in the poor parts of the city and it's spreading to the good parts. I have friends that live up north. I have friends that live in Penthouse that they are leaving the city of Chicago because they feel like Mayor Johnson is buddies with the thugs and the criminals and penalizing with high taxes of the business owners. The same thing with Cook County Board President and the same thing with the governor. Texas is winning when it comes to being a business-friendly state. Illinois is losing. At one point, Illinois was number 2 with the most African Americans behind New York. That don't exist anymore. Why? Because not even black people want to continue to live under criminals. They want to live in peace and love and harmony. And they can't do that when people are having unregistered weapons and they're discharging on the innocent men and women in blue. I understand that the officer could do better how they talk to the community, but the community needs to do better how they talk to the police. I yield back.
Okay, and I just want to say I agree with you. What I disagree with is giving law enforcement an out. I'm saying we need to hold everybody accountable. Law enforcement and community, nobody gets an out on this. All right. So as it relates to de-escalation, all right, in my opinion, and this is based off of my experience working with law enforcement, what they've told me, what I've seen in their trainings, what I've read in the trainings, working with the Obama administration, all of my experience doing this work. The way that the Dexter Reed situation was supposed to play out, according to their training, which in my opinion, there's literally no reason why this could not have happened. I'm just baffled why it did not. So they walked up to the vehicle. There was 3 of them, 1 on the passenger side, 2 on the driver's side, okay? You see them walk up. Initially, the woman, she was the one, the female officer. She said, hey, what's up? Can you please drop the window? I didn't hear an announcement. Hey, Chicago Police Department here. We're pulling you over. We need you to drop the window. Excuse me. That was not like, unless there's an audio that was blanked out or redacted, I never heard that. Okay. So that didn't happen. That's a fact. Okay. Moving on now. So that was one thing that should have happened that did not happen according to their training and according to their policies. That's a violation. There's a reason why these policies and trainings are in place. Okay. So we cannot discount them and say, oh, that's not realistic. If it's not realistic, then it would not be in place. There's a reason why it's in place. So number 2 that didn't happen was that according to de-escalation training, when Mr. Dexter Reed Jr. was fidgeting with the window, going up and down, at that moment, the officers knew that there was something that was not right. How do we know that they knew that? Because in that moment, what do you see them do in the video footage? They pull out their firearms, they're yelling at him, they're cursing at him. Why are police doing that when they were initially calm, even though they didn't announce themselves? Why did they in a split second go from here to way up here? Well, it's because they themselves got escalated. They got fearful of what's going on, which is understandable. But that's when you go back to your training. Okay, that's when you go to your training. You don't rely on your fight or flight response. Okay, that's what makes police different than your average citizen who has a gun, is that law enforcement have a whole bunch of training, a whole bunch of experience and resources that are at their disposal, so that when they're in those situations, they don't have that immediate, okay, boom, boom, let me just pull out my gun, bam, 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 shoot you dead, right? That's what somebody inexperienced might do. But somebody more experienced in a situation like that, they're going to rely on their training and say, okay, time to de-escalate. All right, y'all, let's back up, move away, create some distance, which they could have very well done. You could see in the video, there was nothing obstructing them from backing away from the car. Call for assistance, continue to communicate with Mr. Dexter Reed while he's still in the car. Now you have a whole bunch of cars surrounding him, and you've been communicating, which means that you've been slowing the situation down instead of speeding it up, de-escalating, right? You've created space, so now he doesn't feel like you're all up on him. So if he is going to do something, then at least you're better equipped, because now you're right up on, you're not right next to him where he can just shoot you and now you're shot. You're way away from him. If he tries to shoot at you, more than likely he's not going to hit you, okay? So I'm just saying, when we're talking about officer safety, we're talking about the safety of the person they're engaging, in this case being Dexter Reed Jr., and we're also talking about the safety of the people that live in that area. Because don't forget, there were a bunch of houses and apartments surrounding that area. So when you had 96 bullets being shot, if they didn't hit him, where did those bullets go? Did anybody ask that question? Okay. They probably went into other people's homes, which means that other people could have been shot and killed by law enforcement, not by Dexter Reed, okay? So I just want to make sure we understand why de-escalation training and utilizing it is so important, because it's not only meant to protect law enforcement, who definitely need to be protected, but it's also meant to protect the people that they're engaging, and even just as important, the other people in the vicinity who are not involved in the situation, but are still there and can still get injured, right? As collateral, right? So I just want to make sure we're clear that this training is not some goofball fantasy thing that just kind of came out of somebody's head and they're like, oh yeah, let's do this because it sounds good. This is training that's been tried, tested, and true, okay? Meaning that they've done this training in person over and over and over with people. They've seen how it's worked in real life, and it actually works. That's why they put money into it. That's why they train all their police on it. Trust me, law enforcement don't just take any kind of training. They are very specific about what trainings that they allow and don't allow. So I'm just saying,
I understand about
this training. This training is meant to work, and if they didn't use it, that means that they violated policy. That means that they violated training. That means that they need to be held to account. Okay.
Well, yeah, I believe they should, get a new training, but
no. Come on, let me finish, please. Please let me finish, Marcus. I'm not done. So, because at the end of the day, you have to understand this. Like I said, Chicago was under a consent decree for a reason. It's not even as much about use of force as it is about the way that Chicago police officers engage with community members, especially Black and brown people in the West Side, which is where this incident occurred, and in the South Side, okay? So if we're talking about just regular engagement, you over here, you're saying, oh yeah, cops curse, not a big deal. No, that is a big deal, okay? I'm sorry, but I've worked in professional settings and I've worked in unprofessional settings, okay? When I worked at Vitamin Shop over in Kings Plaza in Brooklyn, all right, I was held to account in regards to the way I conducted myself as a sales associate, wearing a blue t-shirt with Vitamin Shop on it, coming to work every day, the same way I was held to account when I was in Manhattan working for Clear Channel, selling commercial spots, where I had to wear a suit and tie to work every day. There was no difference in regards to what the expectation of me was in the office and at work when I had to engage with clients, with my coworkers, with anybody else while I was on duty. So what I'm trying to say is this: if I'm working at Vitamin Shop, I'm being held to account the same way as I am when I'm working at Clear Channel. Then why is it that law enforcement can curse as much as they want at people and not be held to account, not be seen as being unprofessional? Well, that doesn't make any sense to me when they're getting paid from taxpayer dollars. That's our money. That's Dexter Reed's money. That's paying for them to engage with us disrespectfully. That doesn't make sense. So like I said, there's a reason why Chicago PD is under consent decree. And number one reason has to do with how they interact with certain kinds of people. People that look like you and me. Now, we could talk all day about the bad people in our community, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But when we have bad people in our community, who do we look to deal with it? Do we look to ourselves as vigilantes to go after them? No, we call the police. And so that means that they have to engage with us a certain way. And that doesn't mean that you come on the scene and start cursing like you're a pirate or something like that. That means you come on the scene, you're professional, you adhere to your training, and you adhere to the policies that are there for a reason, right? And then you engage with us that way, all right? And if you don't do that, if you're in violation of that, there has to be a consequence, because when there is no consequence, what happens? More people, more officers do that kind of bad behavior. Then you get officers that are like, you know what? Let's take it up another level because, you know, we're getting away with it, right? Yeah. Now you got officers engaging in the Officer Burge, right? Type of stuff, right? Sergeant Burge, that whole history in Chicago, then home and square. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is this: you got to nip that stuff in the butt from the get-go. And that is a lesson that Black people have learned time and time again in our history, is when you don't nip those things in the butt, those small details, it always leads to negative, large ramifications for our community. So what I'm saying is this: Dexter Reed, regardless of him being a good guy, him being a bad guy, him being somebody with psychological issues or substance abuse issues, at the end of the day, his job is not to be a police officer. His job is not to serve the community and to act a certain way in public. All right. That's not his job. All right. He is a community member who, for whatever reason, acted the way he acted. What we have to focus on are the people that we pay for with our taxpayer dollars. That's law enforcement. They are there to deal with whoever and whatever, whenever. And that's why they have training. The training is what they rely on so that they can deal with these different situations.
And also,
if you do not adhere to the training, then that means that you're not able to do your job. You're not able to deal with these different situations. That means that you should not be a police officer.
I agree.
Okay? That's what I'm saying. It's the same thing that
I understand that. I understand about that.
That's it.
But we must address the crime that Black men particularly are committing in the city. Homicide rate in one of the most segregated cities in the country is 20 times higher for Black residents, and particularly is being caused by Black men that look like Dexter. Also, let's talk about the robberies. The robberies are up. 11,000 robberies were reported in 2023 compared to 8,965 in 2022. We must call out the criminals. Again, this may be a controversial stance, but we must take off the handcuffs of the police. The police must be able to do their job. This whole thing defund, this whole thing let the police, I just don't understand that, because the criminals have taken over. If I was the mayor, and the mayor will be challenged in November for a recall, but the new mayor, because this mayor is incompetent, we need a mayor that is going to allow the police to be the police. We must have a Cook County State's attorney that is not going to be weak like Kim Foxx. And we must have strong judges like DuPage County that will bring the law. We must have state representatives in state of Illinois to pass laws. If you carjack 10 to 15 years, we must bring the criminals off the street and do not allow them to come back. My heart ached for an African-American woman that she put a restraining order on an African-American man because of the incompetence of the parole board. They allowed this criminal off the street. What did he do? He shot, he stabbed, and a young boy, innocent, crime-free, had a bright future trying to protect his mother, and he died. We, as Black people that don't commit crime, like myself, we must call out the criminals. If we do not, they will continue to commit crime. And all of these so-called white liberals that wanted to defund, how does it feel that they're coming in your neighborhood that it was particularly not that much crime? Downtown is run by criminals. So is some parts of the north side and the Gold Coast. I need the politicians, especially the black ones, stop babying these criminals. Treat them how they are, criminals. Because Brandon Johnson, let's be clear. You have police officers, and I can guarantee you, if they come to you, they're not going to talk to that person nicely. They're going to neutralize the threat. It's just simple. They're not going to say, well, please put down the weapon. You're going to get neutralized. Period. Point blank. The officers need to do their job. They're not getting paid like they're supposed to get paid. They not. And then the black community, someone want to call 911. Well, go call a Black Lives Matter activist. You can't. They're living in white neighborhoods. So again, I'm saying from the perspective of the blue, I'm on the side of the police because most of the police are good working men and women. We may have a couple of bad apples, but we have a lot of bad apples in the black community that is destroying, I repeat, destroying the city of Chicago. It's because of the black people and the criminals. I'm not talking about the whites because I'm not white, but I damn sure looked in the mirror. I am black. And I see people that look like Dexter, that is robbing, that is carjacking, and we must bring those criminals to justice. And I stand with the police in this incident. I don't feel sorry. I weep for the family of Dexter, but I am proud that the police officers neutralized the threat. We need to allow the police to do their job. If you have an unregistered gun and you use it against the police, neutralize it. Because if you do it to the president, to the Secret Service, it will be neutralized. It's just that simple. No matter how we try to say it, no matter how we try to break it down, even if the president even make up, the people is trained. If you hit one of them, they will neutralize you. Differently. I don't think the police officers should be suspended. I think they should win an award because we had another criminal that had an unregistered weapon breaking the law and he used it. And it must show an example for anybody in the city of Chicago. If you try the Chicago Police Department, they will use force. It's just that simple. Because if somebody come in your house, I'm not going to be talking to you nicely. Well, please put down you're going to neutralize the threat.
But he never came into anybody's house, though. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like you're talking about.
He was pushing up and down the window.
That was his car. That was his car.
I don't care. But to an officer, I don't know what you have in your car. But if
why you need to back up.
I have to do this. And he did use that weapon, though. He used it, and he had to be neutralized.
He used it, yeah, because the officers were escalating the situation. And that's what I'm trying to say. And that's why I said
he used
earlier.
it because he was a criminal. Period. Point blank. It wasn't because of the officers. He had that gun for what reason?
Yeah, it was.
What reason did he have a gun unregistered?
So,
this ain't the first time he used
it. If those officers adhere to their training, which is what we know they did not do, I'm gonna tell you right now, none of them would have been shot. Okay, none of them would have been shot. They would have had. Let me finish. They would have had reinforcements there. They would have created space so that what's his name, even if he wanted to shoot them, couldn't even get a clear shot without them seeing it. Okay. The whole point of de-escalation is to keep law enforcement officers safe. What they did was create an unsafe environment by popping up on him without making an announcement. And on top of that, cursing, pulling out their guns immediately. If they would have just backed away, communicated, called for reinforcements, which is what the de-escalation training educates them to do. In other words, if they would have done what they were trained to do, that officer would never have been shot. Dexter would not have been killed. And guess what would have happened? Speaking to what you just said, he would have been arrested, which is what you want, right? You said, let's arrest these criminals. And I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. What I disagree with is killing people unnecessarily. Like I cannot, I'm sorry, I cannot agree with that. And I don't care if he's black, if he's white. I don't care what race, I don't care what gender he is. Anybody who is being killed unnecessarily, I cannot co-sign onto that. I'm sorry, I just don't. This was an unnecessary death, in my opinion. What should have happened is that the officers should have adhered to their de-escalation training, which was meant to keep them safe, number one, keep the person you're engaging with safe, number two, and keep everybody else who lives in that area safe, number three. So we just have the officers not adhere to the training, which means that now you had one officer shot, you had one person they were engaging with who was shot at 96 times and was dead and also shot at with his belly on the ground 3 times, okay, which we haven't even talked about that. And then number 3, you also have a bunch of stray bullets that went we don't even know where that could have potentially hurt other people that were not involved in the situation. All of that was created from law enforcement. This is not about Dexter breaking into somebody's house. This is not about Dexter breaking into somebody's car. This is about him sitting in his car and the police showing up and not making an announcement, not using de-escalation. And then we saw what resulted from that. So I'm sorry. If right now with the information I have, I do put blame on law enforcement just as much as I do on Dexter. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. But unless new information comes in that says something else based on what we currently know, that to me is what we're seeing. We're seeing both of them are to blame. If you want to talk about who's to blame here, Dexter, because he had an unregistered gun. He did not comply with law enforcement. There you go. Law enforcement, they did not announce themselves. They did not adhere to de-escalation training. There you go. So in my opinion, it takes 2, buddy. It doesn't take 1, it takes 2. And then another thing I want to say to you is this. Now, the facts that we know, according to studies and also according to anecdotal data from Chicagoans, and most recently I've heard this from Chicagoans in Inglewood when I went to the CC or the Community Commission for Community Public Safety and Accountability meeting on ShotSpotter some months ago. There was a lot of discussion about the fact that Chicagoans living in the west sides and south sides of Chicago, where you have these high incidents, especially of violent crimes, they don't dial 911 when they see crime occurring or even hear of crime occurring in their neighborhood. They just don't do it. And a lot of those community members were saying that that's why, in their opinion, ShotSpotter is actually a very helpful tool for them, because they're not going to pick up the phone and call 911 if they hear shots. They're not going to pick up the phone and call 911 if they see a car outside with tinted glass that looks like something is going on that shouldn't be going on, right? They're not going to do it. Why aren't they going to do it? They'll tell you why they're not going to do it. Number 1, law enforcement is not going to show up on time. Number 2, even if law enforcement does show up, they're going to come through, start harassing anybody and everybody. And I don't want that on my shoulders. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn the other cheek. I'm going to close my window blinds, and I'm going to act like I didn't hear nothing. I didn't see nothing. Therefore, I don't say nothing. And guess what happens when that happens? Crime thrives. Criminals thrive. Why? Because when police and civilians are not talking to each other, they're not sharing information, crime thrives. And so if you want to talk about why crime is like blowing up and why the youth are blowing up in Chicago, talk to the people in Inglewood. Talk to the people over in Humboldt Park and stuff. They'll tell you, we don't call 911. We don't work with the police. Why? We don't trust them. That's why. So if you ask me, how can we make things better in regards to crime in Chicago? In my opinion, one of the number 1 things we need to do, which is why there's a consent decree in place, we need to build those relationships with community and law enforcement. There needs to be trust. There needs to be confidence, because when there's trust and confidence, law enforcement don't have the need to pop out of the car in plain clothes and not announce themselves and not engage in de-escalation training because they're scared about what was going on with his hands. We can't see his hands, okay? They have relationships with community where maybe they know about Dexter in advance, and they're able to engage with Dexter in a different way where it doesn't result in Dexter getting killed and one of their officers getting injured, right? But when you don't have those relationships, right, that's when you have what we got. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're level setting here. We're being realistic about Chicago, because we're not talking about Los Angeles. We're not talking about New York City. We're talking about Chicago. And people living in those neighborhoods in Chicago have said it. We do not dial 911 when we know that crime has occurred. So if that's going to happen, how is Chicago PD going to do their jobs? Okay, that's all. I just want to make sure that we're actually adhering to facts in this conversation, because those are facts. So in my opinion, what happened to Dexter Reed should not have happened, and really could not have happened if law enforcement did what people in Inglewood, what people in Humboldt Park would like them to do, so that they do pick up the phone and call 911 when something happens, which is, we want you to engage with us in a certain way where we can trust you. We have confidence in you. And what you just showed us with Dexter, yeah, he was a problem. But let's say that there was no gun inside of his car and you guys still did what you did because of how you engaged with him, okay? That's why we don't trust you. That's why we don't call 911. So that's why I want to hone in on that. That's what I want us to hone in on, because to me, that's the problem. The way that CPD is engaging with Black and brown people, especially in the South Side and the West Side of Chicago, which was shown in those videos with how they engaged with Dexter Reed. That was not the appropriate way for them to do it. And that's why people are not dialing 911. So, I mean, I'm just saying, we're talking about crime. We're talking about, they're not dialing 911. So, I mean, if they're not calling 911, how are the police going to address the crime, right? And if they don't trust the police, that's why they're not dialing 911. Then answer me this question. How does the way that they engage with Dexter Reed Jr. in all those videos, how is that going to push back on the lack of trust and confidence? That's my question. How is that going to push back on that?
Also, I agree. We can work on that, but the disrespect of the criminals in the South Side
criminals always disrespect police.
But they're taking over. And what you're telling officers is to be nice. You cannot be nice to a criminal. Dexter was a criminal.
Adhere to your training.
He committed a crime. Period.
Adhere to your training. Everybody you engage with is going to.
I agree. They did great training by neutralizing the threat.
No, that's not great training. They were excessive, and we already talked about that.
Never been. I don't believe he was excessive. If I was on the jury, I would give them a gold star because they got the threat off the streets.
You see, and you know something? The way that you're talking, this is exactly the way that the abolitionists want you to talk. Because the more that you say that stuff, the more that you're giving them power.
But the thing is, it's so much crime. It's so much. It is so much crime in Chicago. You know this.
Yes, there is. But it's all about how do we address it? Okay?
You address it like
what?
You address it like this. I blame the incompetence of the Mayor Johnson administration and the state. When they said sanctuary city, that was a bad move. They should have never, ever said, we welcome people that is not a citizen. You can't even afford to take care of Black and brown people.
Right.
That issue was pathetic of Mayor Johnson. He needs to go, pack his bags, take his wife, his 2 boys, they can go. The governor got to go. He's incompetent because you opened the door for people with no rights to get resources. Again, the police must be able to do their job. Their job is to go after criminals. And they do it by the show of force. And
no, that's not how they do it. That's how you get under consent decree.
What you're saying,
that's how you get under consent decree.
What you're saying is this country do a lot of things and they don't talk to these other countries nicely. They just take it. We must have that same militant mindset with the police.
Okay, you talked about international compared to domestic.
I'm talking about in the city of Chicago. I'm sorry. Officers that I talk to in District 7 and Inglewood all over, they feel like Democrats.
Are they dialing 911? Are they dialing 911? That's my question.
Again, people are. Some are.
No. It has to be more than some. You said that crime is rampant.
But crime is rampant.
Are they dialing 911?
The thing when they do call,
if they're not dialing 911, then that's it. The conversation.
But also
they're not contributing.
I understand that. But if we invest more into the police and go with this foolishness default,
but if they're not dialing 911, how is that going to help the police?
Yeah, I would tell you by investing more in the police so they can already be on the block. You already know the Chicago Police Department already know where the most crime happened. So you need more of a strong police force. Let's not act like they don't know all the cliques and the gangs. I personally agree as a Black man that the federal government as well as state and county need to get all the gangs off the street. You know who they are. You know who they are. Do you know how they are? There needs to be FBI sting operation.
Yeah, but they did that already.
They need to do it again. They need to do it every single day. And honestly, they need to do it in New York.
They did that already.
They need to do what New York did. They need to activate, because they never did this in Illinois. They need to do it right now. They need to activate the National Guard. People is tired of crime. They're tired of it. Good African American people. And so is the good whites, and so is the good Mexicans. They're tired of the crime.
Right, but how do you address it? You're not talking about
allowing the police to lock them up, Don't talk to them nice. If they talk back, bring them down, put them on handcuffs, put them in paddy wagons, and get the thugs off the street.
Okay, so we did that already. It didn't work. So what's the next how? It did not work. No, it did not.
Yes, it does.
Listen,
Yes, it
if
did.
It did work. If it did work,
then
that means Chicago
it did work.
Would not have the trending data it's had for decades.
Again, the reason why they have it, because black people, some of them don't want to work, and and we can't blame that. But
and the ones that do, are they calling 911?
Oh, okay.
When they see a crime or hear about it, are they calling police? Are they?
That's why I think ShotSpotter should stay. I don't have a problem with ShotSpotter.
Right, I mean, even
I don't have a problem with
that doesn't address what I just said.
But it does address you.
Trust
how I'm taking it,
community members and law enforcement.
How I'm taking it, you want
officers. Doesn't address that.
I understand, but you want officers to talk to criminals nicely.
No, that's not what I want. What I want them to do,
talk to nice.
What I want them to do is not talk to them nicely. I want them to adhere to their training. Their training is not about talking to people nice. It's about not cursing at people. It's about not disrespecting people. And it's most importantly, not about escalating situations that don't need to be escalated so that everybody comes out unharmed, officer and civilian. That's what I'm about. What they did was not that. That was very unprofessional, okay? And in my opinion, like I said, when I was at Vitamin Shop, if I were to engage with a customer like that, if I was at Clear Channel, if I was to engage with a patron like that, if I was even bouncing at a club, okay, because I've done that in my past, when low money back in the 20s, that's how it is, and I've been a bouncer at clubs. And I'm going to tell you right now, even the clubs be telling you, we need you to engage with our patrons a certain way. We know that they can be difficult, but we need to have a certain imagery, a certain reputation, because that affects our bottom line, okay? So you cannot just be like, oh, you know what? You have a nasty attitude with me? Well, guess what? I'm just going to curse you out. I'm just going to rough you up. I'm just going to body slam you, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that, because guess what happens? You get sued. You lose your job. There's consequences. You see what I'm saying? The same thing applies to law enforcement, like it does with bouncing at a club, like it does with working at Vitamin Shop, like it does with working at Clear Channel. It does not matter. When you are working in a job, there are expectations. When you are considered a professional, there are high expectations. Law enforcement are considered professionals. They are not considered thugs. They're not considered goons. They're not considered just some guys walking around and women walking around with a gun. No, they are considered professionals. And if you ask any law enforcement officer, they take that very serious. All right. They don't want you to not consider them a professional. All right. They want you to see them as a professional, which means that if we train you a certain way as a professional, then you are expected to adhere to that. And when you don't, when you're unprofessional, there will be consequences, okay? So that's all I'm talking about. All I'm talking about is that. You're going off into all this other stuff that, in my opinion, does not apply to what we are talking about today. We are talking about the way that people that are being paid out from taxpayers to do a job to serve taxpayers, how are they engaging with those taxpayers, okay? Because we live in a democratic capitalist society. So that's what I'm focused on. Because regardless of being Black, regardless of being white, regardless of being Asian, LGBTQ does not matter. You are a taxpayer in this country, all right? That's how they get paid. They have to treat you a certain way, all right? And if they don't do that, then there should be consequences, all right? So I'm talking about that. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't see an issue how they talk, though. I didn't see an issue.
Well, you just said it's okay for them to curse people, body slam them, arrest them.
They didn't body slam this particular.
That's insane to me.
He shot the cop, though. He shot a cop. So I think they did great.
I asked you what led to him shooting the cop. Like you acting like the.
I don't know. Maybe he was.
But that's not what happened. That's not what happened.
But he did shoot a cop. And
but what led to that? How did the police interact with him is what I'm asking you.
Because that's what criminals do. They shoot at cops.
No, how did the police interact with him?
They interacted him being in a hostile environment. They're in a hostile
environment.
They are in a hostile environment. You're acting like they're patrolling Beverly Hills.
You sound like a Trumper.
They are patrolling high crime areas. They're not patrolling Disneyland. They are. You know what area they patrol with criminals.
Community. What you need to have is one thing and only one thing. That's all you need. And if you look at the communities where crime is lowest, you'll see that this is the one thing they have, and they have it really good, okay? You need to have a solid relationship between law enforcement and the people that live in those communities. that is always going to be law enforcement's #1 weapon against crime. Okay. And any police officer that is worth their salt will tell you that. Okay. So in my opinion, you could talk about cursing, you could talk about body slam shooting and all this and that. That's not what makes you a good police officer. What makes you a good police officer, that's your relationships with the people in your community. Being able to know that those people have your back the same way you got their back. And so when crime happens in the community, they're going to make sure that you know exactly what you're stepping into. Okay, because you got that information before you even set in there, because you have those ongoing existing relationships with people in your community. When you don't have that, that's when you have an incident like the Dexter Reed, when it's just like, we don't know people in the community. We're just going to do what we want to do. We scared of getting shot, so we're going to wild out. Okay, that's what happens when you don't have a solid relationship with people in the community. You know what else happens when you don't have a solid relationship with people in the community? You have a bunch of young people who have a nasty attitude with everybody, including law enforcement. They don't want to do what they're supposed to do. And they're like, you want to tell me something? I'm going to shoot you. Okay. You have that too. Want to know why you have that? Because people in the community are not talking with law enforcement. They're not calling 911. They're not giving law enforcement what they need to solve these crimes. And if those youth need diversion, which, you know, Mayor Brandon Johnson's big on diversion, then those police will know, okay, this is your situation. This is your family situation. Here's the resources in the community. We're going to divert you to it. Boom, right? That is having relationships with people in your community to be able to do that. But when there's a lack of trust, there's a lack of confidence, because your officers engage the way they did with Dexter Reed, and even worse than that, right? Because we know about Burge, we know about all of that history, etc. Right? That's when you have this happening. We don't trust you, but we still need you, right? Okay, we're not getting information from you, so we're just going to do it the way we want to do it, okay? And that's when you get unnecessary deaths, unnecessary escalation. So that's all I'm talking about. Let's just talk about the facts, okay?
Okay. Well, I believe.
So what I'm saying is this: if CPD could do what the consent decree is encouraging it to do, what they're required to do under the consent decree, which is to build those relationships.
They're trying.
With the people, no, they're not. With the people in the community.
Usually they're not.
With the people in the community.
I
just want to say real quick, in my opinion, everything you're talking about, including the issues with the cash bail reform and the Safety Act, because let's just be honest here. When you say Safety Act, that's not everything in it. There's a lot in that law. You're talking about the cash bail elimination. Just like, please be specific.
I just said a cash bail, but when I want to say this,
but I just want to say, so like once, like regardless of the cash bail, I'm just saying,
relationship with the community. They're building that up. They're trying, but it's difficult to do.
How are they trying? Like, you can't just say they're trying without telling me how they're trying, brother. How are they trying? Like, stay on that point. How are they trying?
They're trying, but when you have illegal,
how are they trying though?
They're trying. They go to barbecues. They go to bot clubs.
Nah. Get out of here with that stuff, man. Listen, after 2020, ain't nobody want to hear about no police barbecue. Okay.
What do they need to do? Half of the community is not going to trust that anyway.
Nah, man. Nobody want to hear about no barbecue with police. Okay. They have to try by actually building relationship with people like yourself, like the gentleman who just jumped on, like me, and like other people who are in these communities. Actually talk to us in a respectful manner, build relationship, invite us. Matter of fact, let's talk about solutions. Invite us into your de-escalation training. Invite us into your implicit bias training. Invite us into your crisis intervention techniques trainings for people that are in crisis due to mental health needs and substance abuse issues. So that way we, the taxpayers, can see how you're being trained. And if there's something that just doesn't seem kind of right, doesn't seem like it's realistic, doesn't seem like it's actually going to work in the field, then let us give you feedback on that. Work with us collaboratively so that you are as best equipped as a police officer to engage with whatever you're going to have to deal with in the community. But we do that together, right? We do that as one community to support public safety and to ensure police accountability through more so proactive rather than reactive strategies. In my opinion, like I said, I asked you for the how. You didn't give me a good one, but I'm going to give you a good how, okay? And that's something that we can do as Chicago, and there are some people doing it. But I'm just saying, if you're going to say Chicago is doing it, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Chicago PD, they are not doing it, okay? But there are community members that are doing it. So when Chicago PD is ready, we are ready too, to work with them on incorporating civilians into their mandatory implicit bias, de-escalation, firearm, and also cultural sensitivity, trauma-informed care, crisis intervention techniques, any kind of training that they have to go through that involves direct police-civilian interaction. They need to have us in that training with them to help them be as equipped as they can to deal with a Dexter Reed type situation so that they don't end up getting shot, so that people like Dexter don't end up getting unnecessarily shot, and everybody gets to either get arrested or go home but be unharmed. That's what I'm about. And to me, that is good public safety, because we're addressing crime, but we're also making sure police are doing their jobs for taxpayers. Don't forget, they get paid from taxpayers. All right.
Also,
that's all I'm talking about.
Right. I want to bring Tyrone Muhammad to come and give his and sir, he is the founder and director of Ex-Cons for Community and Social Change. Welcome, brother, to the show. What is your input of this situation? Do you blame Dexter? Do you blame the cops? Like, what is your perspective on the activist level?
Well, if you've been following me and you know what I've been about forever, it's not nothing new to me that the police have historically murdered us, killed us, right? And whatever reason that is, my primary focus have always been on self-hate, the hate that hate produce in us, stopping violence in the streets and intervening in violence in the streets. I mean, from where we are, it's so easy for us to be distracted. And I'm not saying that, violence anywhere is violence everywhere. Like the brother said, our brother Esquire, it's like they are professionals. So they train to be a certain way. And if they aren't gonna be professional as it relates to upholding the law and serving our community, then they should remove themselves from the force. But we know already. That's why we got the consent decree, because they haven't been forthcoming, and that systemic racism and implicit bias, systemic biases that has historically plagued our communities from the police department hasn't been checked or regulated even to this day, and we're in 2024. So what I would say is this: I just hate that we spend so much time and focused energy on 1 or 2 police murders in a year, when every day I fight to the little homies to give them real behavior modification that stop them from killing each other, from murdering each other, from the terroristic effect of violence on our women and children in these neighborhoods. We don't ever put this much energy on when in last year over 200 women and children was murdered. That's a national tragedy. But as soon as the police murder us, for whatever political reasoning it is, we continue, we harper on this as though 50 people didn't just get shot last week. See, this is the thing with us. I'm so sick of that. And I guarantee you, when you stop us from killing us, and we stand together and we love on each other, the police gonna instantly stop killing us. The reason why they think they could kill us and get away and shoot us like dogs and animals in the street is because mentally, psychologically, we treat ourselves like dogs and animals. There's no way in the world, and I've said it in roll call, I know how to stop police from killing us. The problem is, ain't no peace solution for that. If we're not a part of the police department, like our brother just said, if we're not a part of the training, if we're not a part of the group, when I show up, you don't see me as an offense to the police, when in actuality, they serve us. They should never think the community members that's on the front line and on the ground and front lines are antagonistic to them when they there to serve us anyway. So I'm telling you, I've told the police department in roll call, the only way we're going to stop y'all from killing us, y'all just haven't killed the wrong child yet. Y'all haven't murdered the wrong person yet. Because if you murder my son in the way they murder these young black men nowadays, I'm kicking your goddamn door in. I'm dragging your punk ass out in the street. And since you're supposed to uphold the law and be righteous, I'm going to blow your goddamn brains out in the street. See, when you start talking like that, they'll watch who they murder. They'll watch who they shoot. They'll watch who they pull over. And all that profiling, because today you might not know who you messing with. You can't keep killing us and hanging us and falsely imprisoning us. And we just sit back as black men and talk about it, debate about it. At what point do we create our own militia? At what point do we say, hey, get the fuck out of our communities? Y'all have already proved that system cannot serve or protect us. Why you think so many little homies got guns? Because they fear for their life. The traumatic effect of walking down the street while black, driving while black, going to school while black even. Man, these young brothers and kids are scared to death. Scared to death, Wiley. And in the background, you see my this stuff in the background because I'm building out my cafe, and I have a THC cafe.
Right.
That we building now that's going to have a grand opening soon, man, that I'm gonna invite all the community out to. Is the baddest place in Chicago and in the country. And y'all see it, y'all gonna know we not playing out here. You're not gonna lock us up for 50 years in the name of the war on drugs and give 99% of all cannabis license to white men while we starve and go to jail and still in prison for weed, even though it's legal. We're going to control the market. We created the black market. We went to prison for it. Then it's absolutely imperative that we control the wealth and resources that's supposed to go back into our communities. Can you believe this, brother Carlton? Tax dollars from the police kicking our doors in on our weed houses and drug houses. The cannabis prohibition and the cannabis licensing and all the taxes now go to the police department. The same people who mass incarcerated under the Clinton 94 crime bill, under Joe Biden too. We don't want to tell the truth about that. Joe Biden ushered in mass incarceration along with Clinton and our black elected officials, from pastors to politicians, ushered in black men and boys in these prisons. That's why you got all these little black brothers running around, these nomads, these little lions running around in these communities murdering, because there's no lions to check and balance that crap. They all in prison.
Mm-hmm. Also, okay. We got her want to give her input. Sister, you there? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I hear you perfectly fine, brother. My whole thing is this: what makes them totally right? As someone said in the comments earlier.
Can you mute me in the back? You got your phone?
Oh, wait. No, it's my grandma.
Oh, like an iPad?
Okay, hold on. I got you.
All right, so we having a conversation
I got you.
about Dexter
I got you, brother.
that by the hand.
Wait. Let me.
And so we have people giving.
Okay, so listen. Okay. All right. It's like this. It's like, okay, I don't know if it's a conditioning or what, and I know you from the city, and I know where you from because I've tuned in a couple times. However, it's like they are again. Somebody put in your comments in your feed. They are trained. Why aren't they policing their own neighborhood? Why aren't they putting a police in their own neighborhood? Because there's no liquor stores. There's nothing to rob there. There's nothing to you put the noose. It's crazy, and I really hate to hear you talk like this because I know it's almost like I kind of think you're trolling. I really do, Wally.
No, I'm being honest. I mean, crime is up. They do have police in all areas.
Everywhere, brother. It's everywhere.
It's more than the South and West. I mean, it's out of control. And the mayor is incompetent.
So murder people?
I think the mayor is incompetent. And I think if he would invest
the mayor is incompetent. I agree with you.
Exactly.
I 110% agree with you.
And if he would invest more in non-violent communities where they can de-escalate.
Where is a non-violent community?
They have many groups that
because the highest domestic violence rate is in cops.
They're not getting funding. You acting like all cops are bad. Y'all are not
man.
addressing the criminals as well. Let's have a fair
The
balance
cops are the
conversation.
criminals. They at home whooping
Not
their
that
families.
not
They at home
true.
whooping their
What about the
wives.
homeboys? What
It's
about
called the God
the
syndrome.
black men that
Look
are
it
committing
up.
the crime? What about the black women that are committing the crime?
Oh,
Are we going to take up for them and say they're just innocent? No.
oh no, because honey, in '96 I caught a case.
When we talking about
was,
2024
but
about the
listen,
criminals that's taking over now, though.
hold on.
What about
So it's
them?
called the God syndrome. They said don't marry a pilot, a doctor, a law enforcement, or anybody that's in charge of your life because they have the God complex. Why would you send somebody who couldn't make it? They didn't make it. They didn't pass the ASVAB test. They didn't make it in the military. So you unleash them on the streets. It was a retired cop. It was a retired cop from the city, our city, Wiley, that said it theirself that they train them. They train people. They train their cops to go out and hunt black people. And and then you in Texas. That's the crazy part. Excuse me. Governor Abbott hates black people. The state of Texas was the last to let black people know they were free. And you sit and you talk like that. I
You
guess
said
it
Governor
doesn't
Princeton
affect
love
you
black
until it
people.
happens to
So
somebody in
Governor
your
Princeton love
family.
black people. If they
Excuse
love
me?
black people so much, it wouldn't be a sanctuary city.
But
It won't be
okay,
a sanctuary city if them
city don't
so-called
have
black
nothing to
politicians
do.
love
Hey,
black folks
listen.
like they
A
claim.
sanctuary
It
city
wouldn't
don't
be a
have nothing to
sanctuary
do
city.
with cops. Okay,
Y'all having
my
a
grandbaby telling me to be
y'all having a
quiet.
TB outbreak. Y'all having a measles outbreak because of the failed and
Okay,
incompetent leadership
kill a
of the
black
Black
man.
Democratic Party.
Kill black
Democrats have
people.
failed black folks in
So kill black
Chicago.
people.
Their
So kill black
policy don't
people.
work.
So
All the
kill black people.
sanctuary, they're taking your jobs, they're
So
taking
kill
your
black
food,
people.
they're taking your shelters, they're
So
taking your
kill black
parks,
people. I
and
hear about you talking about the Nation of
criminals
Islam too
are
much.
still committing
I hear
crime.
about you
Be it
talking
boys
about the
or girls.
Nation of Islam too much to be talking like this.
The
So
Nation
you
of
like
Islam don't commit crime. They don't fund the Nation of
Wait
Islam.
a
They
minute.
don't
Are
fund
you
it. But ma'am,
serious?
the Nation
Oh,
of
you don't
Islam,
know. Oh, you don't know
ma'am.
them. Hey, they not an army better. What they say, they are not an army better yet a navy. Them they ready. They
But
don't mess
they
with the
don't get
Nation of
free.
Islam
You
because they
want the Nation of
solid and they
Islam
don't
to
talk
do it for
like
free.
you, Wiley.
They are
They
in the
don't talk
business of
like you,
making money.
Marquise.
The Nation of Islam is not going to do that for free. If they
For
would have some
free.
incompetence, the
They
governor of
blackballed
Illinois would fund the Nation of
Farrakhan.
Islam.
They
You want you to be
blackballed
on the front
Farrakhan because
line.
they said he was anti-Semitic.
That's
I
why
think
we
serious?
have That's why we have police officers. Allow the police officers, quote, to get the criminals off the street.
Man,
Period.
you are
Wally,
radical. I don't know
what
what's
she's
up with you.
saying
And
is
you in one of the
you
worst.
what
You in one of the worst states in America for black suppression. Go look
so
up
so
Greg
Wally.
Abbott. Go look
Illinois is
up
so good for black
Go look
people.
up Greg
Not true.
Abbott. Go look him up. Go look
Greg
him up.
Abbott, he's a great man,
He's just
great
like
governor. He's bringing the
he's
migrants
just
to
like. Oh
Chicago.
my
Y'all wanted
God.
them.
Oh
Y'all
my
wanted the
God.
migrants. Y'all wanted some
Oh my.
sanctuary.
He
How
worse than
does it feel?
DeSantis. He worse than DeSantis. What is
He's
wrong
not
with
worse
you?
than DeSantis. He's very
Hey,
smart.
Oh
He's
God.
very smart. If you say, I welcome migrants, we are a sanctuary. How about we test that theory?
We
The
ain't
governor
talking
was
about
very
migrants.
smart.
We talking about black men getting murdered.
Well, again, it's a lot of black men that murder other black men, and you want them to get a buddy pass and get freedom
I ain't
because
say
they're
that.
black.
Did you hear me say that?
That's
Did
what
you
you're
hear me say
saying.
that?
You're
No,
just
that's
I
not
don't
what
think
I
innocent.
I
That's
don't
said.
not
think
the
she's
That's
problem.
not
saying
what
that,
I said.
Wally.
That's what you
The cop
assuming.
is not the problem. It's about two,
Until
three
it
bad
happens to
apples.
your family,
Pookie,
you won't understand, bro.
Pookie and Ray Ray is the
Man,
issue.
and then that's
They
the
need to be off
stereotype,
the street.
Pookie and Ray Ray. That's
Kim
the
Fox is
stereotype right there. Quit saying
incompetent.
that dumb stuff.
Pookie and Ray
Quit
Ray
Wally,
is
saying
the
Ray Ray.
problem.
Come
hey
on now.
Wally.
When you get robbed, you're technically, if you're ignorant, you may
Hey,
get
listen,
robbed
I'd
by a
rather
black
get
man.
robbed than murdered by
You
a
want
cop.
the police.
I'd rather
You're
get
not gonna
robbed than
call.
murdered by a cop.
You're not gonna call the Nation of Islam. You're gonna call 911.
Hey, but at least they will
Period.
stand up for
All
me
right,
because
brother.
yeah, we about through with you,
You're gonna.
Wiley.
I don't care if you're through. If you get robbed today, ma'am, you're not gonna call for the Nation of Islam. You're gonna call 911. They're gonna come slowly because they're not getting the funding because we have activists that want to defund instead of fund. We need to fund the police. I protect the blue. When your grandmother's getting robbed, like the white lady got robbed and that beautiful dog, she was innocent. She paid her taxes, and criminals that was black committed crime. They need to be off the street and they need to be neutralized. Period, point blank. Because if they come to Texas, they will be neutralized. I'm not playing with these black folks that want to commit crime. Stop babying the criminals and then dehumanize and the police is so bad. Not true. If black folks stop committing crime in the neighborhood like Tyrone Muhammad said, police will not have to do it. Police only come when criminals are on the scene. You want criminals, Carter, to your point, talk to them nicely. No, I've never been robbed nicely. Sir, please give me your wallet, sir. They said, MF, give me your wallet or I'm going to take you out. So the police must have that mindset with criminals. Take them off the street, period. If you hit a police officer, neutralize the threat. That's for anybody. Even the people that have the right to carry. I believe in having the right to carry. I believe if anybody come in your home and try to rob you, you have a right to defend. When the police did not come for this black man when he got his car jacked, he went there himself and he was strapped and they hit him back and he had a right to defend back. I believe every law-abiding citizen in Chicago and the world should exercise their Second Amendment right and do what the police is getting handcuffs to do, that if somebody rob you and try to come for you, you have a right to neutralize the threat. Period. That's what I believe. I believe that. I used to believe the police is the problem. They just the problem. No. Pookie, Ray Ray, and these bad parents that are allowing their children to run rapid on the street. It is bad parenting, and it's these teenagers are running rapid. They're no longer kids. If you rob somebody, you did an adult activity, you must be off the street for the rest of your life. That's what I believe.
Hey, Wiley, listen. So that is partly true. You know, I did 21 years in prison. I've probably personally, ECCSC, our organization, in the last 2 years, probably intervened in over 3,000 shootings in the last 2 years. See, we prevent shootings. The police respond to shootings. Yet the police get all the resources, all the funding, and all of the credit for the reduction in any violence. Yet they don't report all violence because a lot of the funding that goes to the police department would be better spent and given to certain groups that can police themselves. We don't need the police. The other thing is, if you lock a brother like Tyrone Muhammad up for life, I mentor over 80 young men at risk youth that was carjacking, that I take off the streets from shooting. See, it's not that they got to go to jail for the rest of their life. That's the case. We need to condemn America for murdering our ancestors in this blood so sore. They should never get a pass. America should never get a pass for the violation of our ancestors and the soil. And they still haven't paid reparation or even apologized in a way that makes us even feel like we're comfortable that we are even a part of this country. So if you take that attitude and say, well, everybody should be locked up for the rest of their life, I probably took more guns off the streets. You probably seen that me taking all them 10,000 bullets and the guns off the streets. That don't even make the news. That don't make the news. So if all of the good work that we do as returning citizens, we perpetually discriminated against by everybody, even our own black family members, at what point do Jesus fit in that equation? Like, these people call themselves Christians. They hide behind Christianity, Islam, Judaism, yet they're the biggest hypocrites and condemners of people in the world. So I try not to get caught off into that stuff. We're going back and forth about who wrong, who right. But what I'm going to tell you is this. You will never fix this problem if we as a community can't even agree on what it is that we have to do. Lil Pookie, Ray Ray do not produce extended clips. Smith & Wesson, Glocks, SIGs, 100-round drums. Lil Pookie and Ray Ray do not produce cocaine, heroin, opioids, or even weed. Lil Pookie and Ray Ray is not responsible for a failed school system. Lil Pookie and Ray Ray is not is have every right to under God and the Constitution to protect themselves from whatever it is. Having a gun isn't illegal. They've made it legal because you haven't registered it. You have a right to bear arms. You have a right to protect yourself. White men even create militias to protect themselves from any harm. So with that being said, I agree with you. It's not the Republicans or Democrats. It's both of them, Wiley. So when we start talking about, we've arguing over which side of the wing we want of the bird. Neither one of those them wings have served our community. And in fact, actually, the unemployment rate for 18 to 24-year-old black men is over 70%. These kids should be robbing all their ass, starting with pastors and politicians. Every time they put money in a collection plate, these shorties should be taken. You know why? Because they have forfeited these young people's lives. They're forfeited their right to exist. Why? You can't take from somebody, lock them up, and then you release them back into society worse than when they went in, because you have no reformation, you have no opportunity. You rather get work visas, like you said, Wiley, to non-citizens than to give it to Pookie and Ray Ray. You rather train non-citizens with our tax dollars than to give it to Ray Ray and Pookie now. So what else is Pookie gonna do but take your shit? I'm gonna take your shit. Matter of fact, they should be encouraged to take their shit, because these are the same people who sent these young people to jailhouses and graveyards.
But let's.
I have to jump off. I do want to say.
Go ahead.
In the same vein of what Tyrone said, this goes back to what I said earlier, Marquise, which is that if we're going to solve if we're really going to solve public safety in Chicago, we cannot just rely on police. Okay? This is a community.
Police have failed us.
Not a police effort. And the community includes the police.
That's right.
It also includes everybody else. And so, like I said earlier, I'm going to emphasize it again. When it came to the Dexter Reed incident, the way that the Chicago police officers engaged with him when he was in his car that he bought, I think 2 weeks or a month prior to the incident, okay? Was it appropriate, in your opinion? I'm talking all three of you here. The way that Chicago PD rolled up on him, did not announce that they're police, and then immediately started pulling out guns, cursing, and escalating the situation. Is that the way that people that live in Chicago think that law enforcement should serve them? Or based on what I'm seeing in the comments here, based on what Tyrone just said, based on what Her just said, is it something different, Wiley? Is it more of a how, like I talked to you about, not the what? You said a bunch of whats. I'm talking about the how right now, okay? Mm-hmm. How is more important than what, okay, Wiley? Or is it about the how that Tyrone and Her and myself are talking about, which is not a police-centered approach, but a community-centered approach?
It's the community, yes.
That includes the police, right? And so that means, like what Tyrone said, we got to consider, why are these kids doing what they're doing? Are there ways to intervene on some of them and then other ones they're not? And then what are our approaches for those that we can intervene on? What are our approaches for those that we can't? Those are all hows, okay, Wiley? That's why I want to make sure that you understand. When I say how to you, what I expect to hear from you is, this is the details on how we're going to accomplish this. Not, okay, I want police to just bash black people's heads in, and I want them to shoot.
I didn't say bash. I didn't say bash.
I want them to lock them up and arrest them and just throw away the key. Like, to me, that's not a how. That's a what, okay? I'm asking you, how are we going to do this that works for everybody, including the police, okay? And so what I'm giving you, Wiley, and I really want you to hear me, because I'm giving you a gift, okay? And you're welcome in advance. I'm giving you the solution, okay? And it really, it's not rocket science, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not being Carl Winslow. I saw that in the chat. I thought that was funny too. I used to love that show. By the way. I used to love that show. Listen, man, Only Matters was the bomb. All right. Back when we had actual black programming on TV, you cannot tell me you did not love Carl Winslow and Steve Urkel's interactions. I used to love when them two interacted with each other. So either way, I'm not talking about Carl Winslow. You know who I'm talking about? That same black actor who played Carl Winslow. You know the movie that blew him up, that made him into Carl Winslow, right? Was Die Hard.
Yes.
With Bruce Willis.
Yes.
Now, anybody from my generation in the 80s, you gotta know Die Hard. That was one of the bomb action movies back in the day. I'm talking about him being that officer, not the Carl Winslow on the comedy show.
Yes.
That's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about, yeah, I can talk to you respectfully and still pull out a gun if I need to and blow you away when I need to appropriately. That's what I'm talking about. That's good police. No, let me finish. That's good policing, okay? That's good policing when you're able to do two different things at the same time. In other words, I can walk and chew gum. So, I mean, I know they said Carl Winslow, but that's not Carl Winslow. You know, what I'm talking about is the other character that the same actor who played Carl Winslow played in Die Hard, where he was able to do two different things at the same time. And in my opinion, I don't see that as being unrealistic to expect that of Chicago police officers. There's no reason why you cannot approach a vehicle and notice, okay, something's afoot here. Let's follow our training. Let's move back. Let's continue to communicate. Let's call for assistance. And guess what happens? We now surround you. So at the end of the day, whatever you do, we're good. You're not going to harm us. So what's your choice? You're going to come out, get arrested, or you're going to try to fight this out. We're going to gun you down. That's an option that the Chicago police officers had in that moment. They did not utilize it. That's not being Carl Winslow, okay? That's being that same actor who played Carl Winslow, but the actor, the character he played in Die Hard, where you're doing two different things at the same time. So that, like I said earlier,
I agree, though.
This is simple. All this has to do with is literally Chicago PD adhering to the consent decree. And what that means is build relationship with the people in these communities.
And the reason why it's not there
is that you are there to serve. If you build a relationship, it's going to take time. It's going to be a bumpy road, but trust me on this. If you use a process to build it that advances equity and inclusivity, like I always say, the process reflects the outcome. If you advance equity and inclusivity in the process, in other words, we are coming together, we're working together as one community to do this, then that will reflect the outcome, which will also be we are coming together as one community to address these youth, to address the crime. That's how it happens. And by the way, I want to let you know, I did not grow up and I do not live in some whatever low crime community. I live in Chicago and the whole city is a high crime community, number one. And I'm from Queens, New York. I'm very proud of it. I know y'all Chicagoans, you know, I know you don't like the fact we got better pizza, but that's a different story. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. Okay. But I am going to say this. I grew up in New York City, you know, single parent home. I know all that stuff. All right. I had family members that were locked up. Let me finish. I had family members that were killed. I have friends that were killed. Okay. So all I got to say is this. It's not about that. It's about the fact that I'm talking about solutions here. And I'm talking about the how, not the what that Wiley's talking about, which makes no sense in my opinion. I'm talking about the how that makes sense for everybody in the comment section and for everybody watching and for the people not watching. That's what I'm talking about. And the only way we're going to establish that how is with you. You. Yes, I'm pointing at all of you out there. Okay. We need you to dial 911. We need you to work with Chicago PD. We need you to try to build trust and confidence with them so that they don't feel the need to pop off like they did with Dexter Reed, because they'll have information from the community to know how best to engage with people from the community. Okay. That's how we get this done. And if that means that he does start shooting at them when they have not even approached the vehicle, right? Then yes, they better pull out their guns and they better defend themselves. But if he has not done that and you're approaching his vehicle and he's actually trying to comply with you, but it's kind of looking funny, well, then I'm saying go back to your training. That's all I'm saying. Go back to your training and do what the training says to do. That's not Carl Winslow. Okay, Carl Winslow is like, let's sit down with Steve Urkel and let's just joke around. I'm not saying I want police to do that. I want them to adhere to the training. I want them to work with the people that they're there to serve as taxpayers. Don't forget that. And I want them to build relationship. I want them to share knowledge. And most importantly, I want them to problem solve. I want them to solve the problems of the youth, to solve the problems of people with mental illness, to solve the problems of crime in Chicago together.
Yes.
Let's not rely on Chicago PD to do it by themselves. Let's work together as a community with Chicago PD. Let's solve these challenges. That's what I want. And I'm sorry, that is not Carl Winslow, okay? That is the same actor who played Carl Winslow, but the role he played in Die Hard. He's doing two different things at the same time. He's being a good officer and he's also being a badass, okay? That's all I'm saying, okay? And in my opinion, those 5 officers, they did not do that, okay? They did not act like the actor did in Die Hard. They did not do two things at the same time. They chose instead to be a badass, right? Be like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon, and let's just shoot this guy up even when he's belly down. Let's continue shooting him. And guess what? He didn't have a gun on him when we continue shooting him. So I just, like, to me, I'm trying to understand, how does that make sense? And then if we don't hold them to account for that kind of lack of professionalism, then what does that say about us? What does that say about how we value ourselves? What does that say about, let me finish. What does that say about the next time that there's an incident that's similar to Dexter Reed? But guess what? This time there was no gun. But we couldn't tell because the windows were so tinted. All we knew is that it was just weird. So we just started shooting. And guess what? You guys let us go with the Dexter Reed. So can you let us go with this too? It's like, when do we tell them enough is enough? Okay. The only way to do that is to work with police, not work against them. And let's come together with solutions as one community, like I said, to support public safety and ensure police accountability through more so proactive rather than reactive strategies. I do have to jump off, but
all right,
if you want to learn more about what I do in Chicago and around the country, please visit my website, www.maYERS, I have a whole bunch of content there. You can reach out to me. We could talk about it more. You already know me and Wiley going to be talking about this more. This guy over here, I told him 30 minutes. He got me on here for an hour and a half. Congratulations to you. You got me.
Yes. No. Thank you, sir, for coming on. And like I said,
Thank you for having me. Seriously. I want to come back, even though
because you have a lot of events. Yeah, but we agree to disagree. It's a different approach.
No, it's not a problem.
It's a different approach. But I think
I love it, dude. I love it.
And I can't wait to see you because are you attending the DNC in Chicago or you're not going to go?
To be determined. I'm kind of waiting to see how the protests are going to go, because what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing
it's going to be a lot.
That even if you want to participate in it, they're not going to allow you to do that because they're going to be blocking every which way to get access.
Oh yeah, they did. I got it. My source told me they're blocking. It's going to be so terrible. Because you got the MAGA, the Republicans, you got outside agitators. It's going, and then also you got Gaza. It's going to be terrible, and they don't even want the mayor to attend. Allegedly, they don't want to.
Right. So I'm like, hey, I'll see what happens. I'll be around.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna text you.
Appropriate. Okay,
I'll text you and ask you, are you going to attend? Because I heard it's going to be a lot of action with protesting. But yeah.
No, I'm not going to be around that, man. Come on now.
Well, I have my camera. It's going to be entertaining because. It's going to be very entertaining, honestly.
All I know is that Chicago PD is very tense right now.
They're very, but this is a problem that should have been fixed under Daley, under Richard M. Daley, back in the 60s. I'm talking about his daddy.
Yes, father.
And his father, that culture of aggressiveness is still living on. I thought it was going to, I knew it was going to change under this new commissioner or the head of the police. It's still going on. And Mayor Johnson is just so weak. When he was very strong of doing a ceasefire in Gaza, but he's weak on the firing that all the fire in Chicago. I mean, when is he going to step up as a leader? Because he can lead this and tell the police to do the training. But now they're saying they don't have the time. I believe they're at 8% in compliance. Oh, 10%. They're not even at 40%. In compliance to bring being because don't they have to be at 100% with the
consent decree?
Yes, ain't they like
6%?
Yeah, 6%. Wow, I gave them 2 extra %. So nobody is taking this serious. Why do you think? Okay, we have to get you on, but I don't know why they're not taking it serious. If the federal government said, is it because the failure of the federal government not suing the city or the state? I don't understand why they're not doing enough, because this happened years ago and they're still at 6. So
yeah, so there's a lot to it, and in my opinion, it comes back to what I've been saying.
Okay.
When you don't have the police and the community working together, you're not going to solve public safety challenges. Doesn't matter if it's police accountability, or if it's gun violence, or if it's mental health, or if it's youth-related crimes. It does not matter. It takes more than just police to do this kind of work, okay? And police will tell you that, okay? They can't do everything. They're not super people. So we just have to be realistic. When we're talking about Dexter Reed's case, we just can't see good guy, bad guy, police officer, person with the gun shooting. Okay, it's not that simple. All right, there's a lot more to it. And like I said, the way that law enforcement engaged with him, in my opinion, based off of what I know about the training, based off of what I know about people that live in Chicago that have been doing this work on policing reform, that was not the appropriate way. That was not the expectation of what Chicagoans expect when Chicago PD is supposed to interact with them in those kinds of instances. So all I'm saying is this: if that's not the expectation, then we need to establish what it is. And the best way to do that is to incorporate civilians into their trainings. Because when civilians are in the training, law enforcement will not only hear from law enforcement, they will hear directly from the people they're there to serve. And that's only going to better equip them for whatever they're going to deal with when they're outside doing their job. So to me, that's a win-win situation, okay? We're building relationship, we're transferring knowledge, we're problem solving. That's what we want to do on public safety. And that's one mechanism that Chicago PD has at their disposal that we can do, but they're not doing it. Okay, Citizen Academy training does not count. I'm talking about the training with the police, the mandatory training, okay?
But
so until that happens, in my opinion, there is nothing that is going to prevent.
You haven't blamed the governor or the mayor. You haven't blamed them. They're supposed, or
at the end of the day, until the training is done in that way, we are not taking any meaningful steps to trying to prevent another incident that led to the consent decree, and also another incident like the Dexter Reed incident where you had an officer shot and you also had a person that was gunned down with 96 rounds shot at them. So all I'm saying is this: all of that's unnecessary. Dexter Reed should have been arrested. He should be locked up right now awaiting trial, or out on bail or whatever, awaiting trial, whatever it is. That's what should have happened in that incident. I'm not saying that they should have not engaged him. I'm not saying that they should have let him go. I never said that. What I said is that they should have engaged him. I'm focused on the how, okay? How did they engage him? Was that appropriate with what people in Chicago expect? And then how should have they engaged him according to their training, according to the consent decree, according to the expectations of people in Chicago? In my opinion, they did not pass the smell test, okay? Plain and simple as that. So if that's what's going on with Chicago PD right now, community members need to step up and say, listen, we need to change this. We want you to protect us. We know we need you, but we need you to treat us different. We need you to engage with us different so that it does not result in unnecessary harm and death for yourselves and also for us, okay? That's all I'm talking about, is how can everybody come to an agreement that we want everybody walking out of these situations unharmed? And then if we all agree on that, then how do we accomplish it? I'm over here giving you a solution, okay? I'm telling you, one way to accomplish it is to incorporate the civilians into these mandatory trainings that have to do with direct police-civilian interaction. That is one way, not the way, one way that you can contribute to changing this dynamic. It's not going to be what you're saying, Wiley. It's not going to be these old school tactics that have been done time and time again and have shown to not work, which is this over-policing of Black communities, which is this stop and frisk, zero tolerance policing, broken windows approach, shot spotter and all. That does not work. If we're going to use shot spotter, if we're going to use license plate readers, it needs to be in conjunction with community members working with police and collaborating on how we're going to do this. If we're not doing that and we're only letting police steer the ship, then we're not going to see anything different than what we've seen. Therefore, we are always going to be under consent decree in Chicago. And I'm trying to tell you, if you don't want to be under consent decree, the police need to adhere to the de-escalation training. Plain and simple as that. That's it. There's no argument to that. So thank you for having me on. Like I said, if you want more information, www.mayorsolutions.com.
Your website.
It's all about community empowerment, y'all. And Carl Winslow doesn't say that, but I'm gonna tell you right now that same actor that played in Die Hard, that's what he says. It's about community empowerment, police and community working together as one community. So if you're about that, please check out my website. Please contact me. I'm all about solutions. Thank you so much.
What's
Good night.
the website again, sir?
www.mayors. So that's going to be MAYERSSOLUTIONS.com. So that's www.mayorsolutions.com. That's what I do, y'all. I work on solutions, not Carl Winslow. The other character, the same actor played in Die Hard. Two things at the same time. All right. That's what we're talking about here. You know, we're human beings. We're not basic animals. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, y'all. So we can expect that of our police too. So thank you so much for having me. And please see our police in higher regard. Like, see that they can do better. See that they're capable of doing more than just cursing at people and body slamming them and all that. Like, understand that they can actually talk to people without cursing at them and still be able to arrest them and use force if need be. So I'm just saying, you know, we can chew gum and walk at the same time. We're not like, you know, primitive apes that can't do two things at the same time. So please give police more respect than that. That's all I'm asking you. Give them more respect than saying that they cannot walk and chew gum at the same time, because I give them that respect. Okay. So I expect that of them. Yeah. All right. That's all I'm saying is I'm solutions oriented, and I expect us to act like the higher level, you know, organisms that we are on this planet, that we can chew gum and walk at the same time. So I expect our police to do the same. And all I'm saying is I don't see why any of us would not expect them to do that. You know, so like I said, please do check out the website. Reach out to me if you're about practical solutions that actually work.
In there, because they said it's not working. Let me make sure that it's on here. Give me a second.
Okay.
So they can make sure.
Yeah, they need to check out the website, because I'm like, y'all, this is not no Carl Winslow thing over here. This is some serious stuff we're talking about.
Saying Carl Winslow, I don't know.
Yeah, this is some serious stuff we're talking about. And I talking about no Steve Urkel. Did I do that kind of stuff? All right, we're talking about some serious stuff here now. So throwing out Carl Winslow, come on now. This is not funny business. This is some serious stuff we're talking about.
Okay, I'm gonna screen share his website so you all can see his website, because you have your motto is the process reflects the outcome.
Thank you.
So let me
hit it on the head, baby. Thank you so much for that.
He is the real deal, and you have a track record of giving solutions. So this is your website, sir, correct?
Almost 15 years now. I've been doing this work specifically in Black communities all around the country. Okay, so like I said, this is not some Carl Winslow stuff. This is the same actor, but the different role he played in Die Hard, where we're talking about police doing two things at the same time. Okay, so you can be a good officer and still engage with people without cursing and still be a badass, that if you need to use lethal force, you can do it. I mean, I don't see why police can't do both at the same time. So that's all I was saying.
Police is under a lot of pressure.
That's not an excuse, brother. Stop it already. You're under a lot of pressure. Okay, stop it already. I'm under a lot of pressure. Everybody, Mayor Brandon Johnson's under a lot of pressure. Deputy Mayor Gary Gatewood is under a lot of pressure. I mean, dude, President Biden is under a lot of pressure. I mean, like, come on now. Everybody's Trump is under a lot of pressure. Okay, everybody's under a lot of pressure. That's not an excuse to be unprofessional in a professional job and not be held to account for that. I'm sorry, that's not, okay? So I have more respect for police than that. I know that police can do two things at the same time, all right? They're very intelligent people, okay? They're not donut eating idiots. That's not how police are at all, actually. They're very intelligent people. I have a lot of respect for them, and I have a lot of respect for their capabilities. So I would never disrespect them and say that they are not capable of doing two things at the same time. They are. So all I'm saying is that I have respect for police, and I work with them, and I work on solutions with them in the community.
The police deal with a high crime area. That's a lot of pressure, sir.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's not an excuse. Not an excuse at all.
That's different than selling smoothies and working in customer service. Their customers.
That's not different than being a bouncer, though. I didn't hear you say that one. That did you? Because being a bouncer, unlike being a police officer, you don't have a firearm. You don't have any weapons on you. Maybe you have a radio, and maybe you have other bouncers who are willing to help you out when stuff pops off. More than likely, that's not going to happen. You're on your own with just your mouth, your eyes, and your hands. That's it. Okay. And I had to do that work for years. Okay. So I'm telling you right now, it is possible. And I've seen it. I've done it. It is very much so possible for police to engage with somebody who's being weird. You know, like I said, Dexter didn't start shooting, right? He was just being weird. And to engage with them in a way where you're de-escalating, you're slowing down, you're creating distance. And guess what? Everybody comes out unharmed. Dexter gets arrested, he gets locked up, whatever. But either way, everybody comes out unharmed. That officer never gets shot. Either way, everybody comes out unharmed. You hear what I'm saying? Everybody comes out unharmed. That did not happen. Why? Because those officers did not adhere to their training. They were being unprofessional. That's why that officer got shot. Plain and simple as that. Okay. If they would adhere to the training, the situation would have had a different outcome. Like I said, the process reflects the outcome. What process did the CPD officers use in that instance? We saw it on the video camera footage. They did not adhere to de-escalation training. We saw an officer then get shot. We then saw Dexter Reed get shot at 96 times and killed. Okay. If they would have adhered to de-escalation training, what would have happened? Oh, wait a minute. Everybody came out unharmed? Dexter Reed got locked up, so that means the community's safe again. And the officers walked away unharmed. You're telling them. I mean, I don't know what to say. Wiley. I mean,
you want to have the police
can do two things at the same time. I have the utmost respect in law enforcement, and I know that they're capable.
My police friends, they're telling me
I'm just saying I'm not going to disrespect police and say that they're not capable of doing two things at the same time. I'm not going to do that, you know.
But you're saying
I have a lot of respect for them.
To be very weak on crime. I'm saying I want you to be tough on crime.
That is being tough on crime, though, by actually working with community
nicely.
That is very much being tough on. Like not being tough on crime is when community and law enforcement are not communicating with each other, because that's when crime thrives. So, in my opinion, if you want to be tough on crime, then that means you need to build relationships with people in the community. That's how you're tough on crime.
That's in the city. Governor Pritzker is weak on crime. He's weak on investment.
I'm not going to talk about the governor, but all I'm saying is this. At the end of the day, regardless of governor, regardless of mayor, regardless of county president, regardless of any of that, at the end of the day, the same thing holds true. If we want to solve public safety challenges, it is not going to just be police doing it. It has to be the whole community, including police. And that's all I'm saying. And so if you're interested in how to do that, check out the website, contact me. Like I said, we need to get the community members involved in these mandatory trainings with law enforcement so that the police are better equipped for what they're actually going to be dealing with. Right now, Chicago PD, the way that they're acting, they are not fully equipped for the communities that they're engaging with. And that to me is a problem. That means that they're not only engaging in bad behavior, but that also means that they're not solving crimes that you're talking about.
I want the police,
they're not getting information to solve the crimes, right?
Respectfully, the police need a raise. They're dealing in high crime areas. It's a lot of stress. And you're saying it's not a lot of stress. So what? Talk to them nice. You cannot talk to the community nicely if you're under extreme stress by criminals. You're still taking the side of the criminals and dehumanizing and the police. That's how I feel. And that's how the police feel hearing your language. The criminals.
What language? I'm not talking about no defund. They don't feel that way. They only feel that way when you talk about defund with them. So I'm not talking. Listen, I don't support defund. I'm all about giving police money. What I'm about is attaching conditions to the money, so that way we make sure that the way that the money's being spent, taxpayer dollars, right, is actually being spent the way that we expect it to be spent. So that means if we expect you to engage with us respectfully, and that's the training that we're paying for you to be able to get so that you know how to engage with us appropriately, then I expect you to actually do that when you're doing your job. And then even to make it better, I want to be in that training with you so that way I can make sure that my taxpayer dollars are actually being spent appropriately. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about democracy. I'm talking about taxpaying dollars. And I'm talking about the police who are being paid taxpaying dollars, and they're not doing the job that's expected.
Respectfully, I want the people in the taxpayer They want a show of force. President Donald Trump.
Yeah, a show of force means let's build trust
That's
and
your
confidence, and let's
definition.
start transferring
My
information
definition
so that
is-
you can do your job better.
My-
That's how
when
we do tough
President-
on crime.
when
That other
President
tough on
Donald
crime stuff, they did that back in the day with
I
Biden
understand, but when
and with
President
Bill
Donald
Clinton.
Trump,
And look
he
what
said,
happened.
Don't
We have a
be
bunch of
too
these young
nice.
kids out here
It's the
that are
truth.
just acting all rampant and they're disrespectful. And if
Black
that law
people
didn't
don't
pass
do
back in the
well
day,
with
we would
ISIS.
not be in
They
that
do
situation.
well with a short
So the
of
tough on
force.
crime approach you're talking about has already been proven to not work.
It
What I'm
works.
saying is let's do a different tough on crime approach, which is still in line with what you're saying, Wiley, but it's a different tough on crime approach
My
of
approach
not
is
defund. All right, let's clear that up. This is not a
Allow
defund
the
approach.
police to be the
It's
police.
a approach
That's
about
my
community
stance.
empowerment. Let's come together as one community and
I
let's
say
law
lock 'em up
enforcement work
and
with
throw away
community
the key.
on getting information. People actually picking up the phone and dialing 911. That's what we're talking about. That's tough on crime, because right now what's going on where community members know crime happens, they see it, and they're not dialing 911. I'm just sorry, but that kind of thing
Why
to
would
me,
people call
that's not tough on
911
crime.
if
You know what I'm saying,
do their
brother?
job?
That's
The
not tough
police
on
are there
crime.
to do their
Tough
job.
on crime is when we're working with police to solve crimes, not when we're just like, oh, I'm not going to dial 911, but then at the same time, I want police to go after these criminals. That's not being tough on crime. That's being weak on crime. Being tough on crime is saying, okay, law enforcement, I want to be in your trainings. I want to make sure the way
I
you're
see what
engaging is
I see what you're
appropriate,
saying.
so that way we're building
Because,
trust, because
sir,
when the trust is built, we're now going to give you information. We're going to dial
it does
911.
not
We're going
work.
to be tough on
You
crime
want
in
black
Chicago. That's what
uneducated
I'm talking
people,
about. That's tough on crime.
particularly in the
That's
black
tough on
community. It's a
crime.
lot of uneducated people. We
I know.
need
Terry, I
police
agree with you. I need a drink too. Matter of fact, I'm going to have me
We
some
need
water right now.
police officers to show force. I personally believe,
Thank you
and
very much, Terry, for
I
that.
stand with the people that want to recall Mayor Johnson. He is weak. He's weak on crime. Give me a Donald J. Trump type of mindset. When Donald Trump took over, we didn't have these migrants taking over. He deported them. He didn't talk to these people nicely.
I'm not going to talk about Mayor Brandon Johnson or
weak.
even all of that.
He is incompetent.
Listen,
So is
all
the
that stuff
governor.
doesn't mean anything, okay? At the
He's
end of the
alive.
day,
Let's grow this
Chicago
city.
is always going to have a different mayor, okay?
But
So
he's
regardless
weak.
of who, if you could talk about
He's
Ron,
worse than
you
Lori
could talk about
Lightfoot.
Lightfoot, you could talk about Johnson, it does not matter.
But
At the
we
end of the
need
day, want to know what matters,
a
Wiley?
mayor
Want to know what
with
matters?
a show of
What
force.
matters is the community, okay?
The
Because at the end of the day,
community
no
is
matter
tired
who
of
the
being
mayor
robbed.
is, the community is
The
the
community is tired of
community,
being
okay?
carjacked.
And they have to be working with the police
They
on
can't work.
solving
They're too
these
busy being robbed
public
and
safety
carjacked.
challenges. And that's how we get tough on crime. We don't get tough on crime by relying on each mayor to come in and hopefully be the Jesus that's going to save us from whatever's going on. That's not how it's going to work, buddy. All right?
They
It's
don't
not how
go
it's going
to
to work.
it.
The community needs to do it with police. And guess what?
police
The
have
mayor
free
will fall in line
barbecues
with
for
what the
black people.
community and police
They
do.
have it.
We cannot expect the mayor to do everything, because guess what? There's going to be a new mayor. And when there's a new mayor, guess what, Wiley? You're going to have some new issues with that new mayor that you're going to be talking about here. And my whole thing is this.
Give a new
It
governor
does not matter.
and give a strong MAGA
It
governor
does not matter.
that's going to make
The
Chicago
community
great again.
matters. We need the community and law enforcement together to work. That's going to be tough on crime. When that happens,
MCGA, make
that's what will be
Chicago
tough on
great
crime.
again. Democrats are letting criminals run the street, and sir, you're allowing the criminals to run the street, and you want the police to talk to them nicely. Please stop committing crime. It's not going to work. You
it's not about talking to them nicely, brother. No. There's not no Carl Winslow thing here. This is about how is it that the community wants law enforcement to engage with them.
The community
Once you have that
on the
situated,
street.
okay, then you have information being transferred from community members to law enforcement. Law enforcement don't even have to roll up on cats like that, because they're getting so much good intelligence and information from the community that they're able to preemptively strike. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, hey, excuse me, we're knocking on your door because we've been getting some information that you have an unregistered gun. Oh, what? You got me in my house with it? Damn. I didn't even get an opportunity to be in my car with tinted glass where you can roll up on me and I could potentially shoot at you.
You know they're
not
going to do that.
Because they're getting information from the community that's giving them what they need to nip it in the butt before it even gets to that kind of situation. And they're using the de-escalation training that they learned so that when those situations do happen, they're able to better address it so everybody comes out of it unharmed. That's not about talking nicely to people. That's not about trying to be nice to criminals. I think it's more about empowering community to be able to have a say on how they want their community to be policed because it's their taxpayer dollars. That's all that's about. It's not about defund. It's about giving police money, but making sure that they're using the money the way that taxpayers want it to be used. So like I said, I'm not defund. I support giving police money, but I also support making sure that taxpayers' dollars are being used appropriately according to the democratic process. The way that CPD engaged with Dexter Reed, in my opinion, based on the information that's been provided, like I said, when new information comes out, my perspective might change. But thus far, with what we know, in my opinion, what we see, they messed up. They did not adhere to de-escalation training. And that definitely contributed to an officer getting shot. The police definitely need to get an award for neutralizing. If they worked with the community and incorporated people into those trainings, how much you want to bet those officers would have had a different approach? How much you want to bet it would have been a different outcome? That's all I'm saying. Get an award. That's all I'm saying. It would have been a community empowerment centered approach where you have law enforcement and community working together on the solution.
If you get robbed by a black man, you don't want the police to talk nice. You want them to get the criminal off the street. That's good to talk if you're not getting robbed.
But how? Yeah, no, but how? Wiley, how? How are they going to do it? How are they going to do it?
Force. They need
no, we already did that. It didn't work. If you continue to do the same thing over and over again when it doesn't work, that is the definition of insanity. We do not want to be insane, Wiley, so we're going to have to do something different.
The definition of insanity,
what I'm saying is I provided you
to talk
with
to
a different solution
that ain't gonna work.
That is not defund, okay? It's not a defund solution. It's not an abolitionist solution. I gave you a solution that is about working with police. What I'm saying to you is you have not given me anything in response to say your solution will not work, Carlton. That's all I'm saying. And so
mine would work
because where's your how? Where's your how? Where is it?
Mindset.
Where is
it? A way of force will always work than your nice talk. Force trumps nice.
There is no nice talk. No, brother. I never talked about no nice talk. I'm talking about de-escalation. De-escalation is not about nice talk. De-escalation is about slowing situations down.
Period.
It's not about nice talk. No.
You want to talk so nice. I said they keep
nice talk. Nice talk has to do with hi, how are you doing today? My name is Baba. Today we are selling Baba, and that means that you have this option of a discount. That is talking nice. I do not expect CPD to talk to people like that. What I do expect them to do is adhere to their training, okay? And their training does not require them to talk like that. Their training requires them to understand a situation and to know, okay, he's acting funny. Create distance.
That doesn't make any sense in the real world situation.
Slow down the situation.
That doesn't make any sense. That sounds good in the textbook.
Now we handle it.
That
and if it means that, like what you said, Wiley, that we use
dealing with Ray, you got to be aggressive.
But if it doesn't require that, then guess what? Then now everybody comes out of it unharmed. And what's his name gets locked up. Dexter Reed Jr. gets locked up.
He wasn't going to get locked up.
He had a off the street.
He had so
everybody gets what they want. That's not nice talk. That's professionalism.
I don't believe his family should get money.
That is community empowerment. That's what that is. So, like I said, go to the website. Go to the website because I think that you're still unclear on what community empowerment means. It doesn't mean talking nice. It means working with law enforcement on solving public safety challenges, not working against them.
Of course.
It's not defund. I want to make sure we're clear on that. This is not a defund thing.
Like a little baby.
It's not abolition. I do not support that.
The solution is more cops on the street. Any criminal that have a weapon, neutralize them and arrest them and keep them in jail. It would work.
Well, I may be, and I think that will depend on each circumstance and situation. But like I said, at the end of the day, even that will not happen if the community is not working with police and dialing 911 and actually trying to solve these challenges with them instead of against them or instead of separate from them, okay? I'm saying let's work with them. Let's have higher expectations of law enforcement. Let's stop treating them like you are, Wiley, like law enforcement are a bunch of primitive apes that can't do two things at the same time. I have more respect in law enforcement than you do. Okay,
sir,
I expect law enforcement to act like an intelligent human being, like they are, and to be able to do two things at the same time.
This is where we disagree.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying is let's love our police. Let's respect our police. Let's work with our police. Let's pick up the phone and dial 911.
By neutralizing the threat.
I think you're talking about something else, but I'm talking about that.
I
want to make sure we're clear. I want to make sure we're clear here that I'm talking about working with police. I'm talking about respecting police. And I'm talking about giving them a higher level of respect and expectation and knowing that they can do two things at the same time. And that they are not primitive apes that eat donuts all day. Like, that's not police. They are highly thinking professionals, okay? They can do two things at the same time. And that's why the training is so important. If they do not adhere to the training, then they are what you're saying they are, Wiley. They are essentially primitive apes that are not capable of thinking on a higher level.
Excuse me.
And I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I think police can think on a higher level.
You're
I think police are police officers wasn't professional. Can do two things at the same time.
I'm telling you,
I think that police can adhere to the de-escalation training that they've been taught, and if they do not adhere to it, I do believe that they should be held to account because those are taxpayer dollars that are paying for them to be on the force, paying for them to go through that training, paying for them to adhere to the training. And so if you do not adhere to the training as a taxpayer that is paying for your training, I expect you to be held to account, okay? Because I can tell you right now, if I don't pay my taxes, I am held to account. If you don't pay your taxes, you are held to account. So I expect them who are making money off of my taxes, off of your taxes, off of everybody's taxes, who is right now in your comment and listening to your thing and not listening to your podcast, I expect them to also be held to account the same way that we are held to account when we do not pay our taxes. Okay. In other words, I expect that they adhere to a democratic process within a democracy that is also a capitalist society. That's all I'm saying. You know, I mean, it's 2 + 2 = 4. You know what I'm saying? 2 + 2 does not equal 5, right? I mean, like that's literally all I'm saying. Like literally, that's all I'm saying.
Police, to my brothers and sisters in blue, y'all get it right.
Wiley, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, brother. I think the best thing you to do is say, people, and you must neutralize and call it a night. I'm looking at your comments, and it sounds to me like I think you should just say, Carlton, I agree with you, and call it a night.
I don't agree. I stand with the police. I got sense.
No, you don't actually, because you are very disrespectful to the police. You are very disrespectful to the police. You are very disrespectful.
I love the police. You are disrespectful to the criminals.
You are very disrespectful.
Talking bad to the police.
Disrespectful.
I love the police.
No, you do not. Because if
yes,
you did,
I do love the police.
Every time I see the police officer, and you would close it out at that. But the fact that you're not doing that to me shows that you are more in line with the defund people than you are with the people that want to work with police. Yes, you are, Wiley. Yes, you are. Oh, yeah, you are. Because you want to know something? The defund people think the same way you do. Police cannot think on a higher level. Police are not intelligent. Police cannot do two things at the same time, right?
Police,
and that's why they want to abolish them. Okay, so I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I disagree with that. Okay? I think police do deserve to be respected. I think police do think on a higher level. I do think that police can do two things at the same time. And I do think that when they're trained on something, that they can adhere to it. And if they don't, they should be held to account, just like taxpayers are when we don't pay our taxes. Okay,
half the criminals don't pay the taxes.
2 + 2 = 4.
They are uneducated.
2 + 2 = 4.
They're uneducated.
2 + 2 = 4.
I don't agree.
Okay? 2 + 2 = 4. That's all I got to say.
Give them a raise.
2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 = 4.
The Chicago Police Department did right in this situation. This is not about math. You want people to talk to them nicely. You want them to eat smoothies, drink smoothies. I want the police to do their job.
2 + 2 =
The Chicago Police Department is the best
4.
police department ever.
2
Unfortunately,
plus
the Carlton
2
of the world
equals
want y'all to have on handcuffs.
4. Okay,
You want them to have
that's
on
all I know.
handcuffs.
And thank you, Terry. I know you're right. Nobody can change Wiley's mind.
You can't
except
change
for
my
Wiley.
mind. Most of the white people with money
All I
stand by
gotta
my
say is
side.
this: I hope
Most
Wiley
of the
calls
smart blacks,
his local
they
police
stand
officers
by
and
my side.
apologizes to them for the disrespect that he has said to them on this call, this podcast today, that they are not able to do 2 things at the same
They are
time.
able.
I really
They
hope
neutralize
that
the
you
threat.
apologize to them.
How can I apologize to them? You should. You want them to talk to them nicely.
I mean, I'm over here saying they could do 2 things at the same time. I'm
They
giving
did
them credit.
yes,
You're
sir.
taking
Don't
away
say this,
credit.
Carlton.
You
They
need to
did
apologize,
do
Wiley.
things.
You need to call up your local police and apologize right now to them
I would
because
not
that is very
apologize. I
disrespectful
say
what you
do
did today.
more. They did everything right.
You and the abolitionists need to meet up
They did
and form
everything
your
right.
own group together and then go out and start talking about how police are a bunch of primitive apes, all right? Because I'm not a part of that. I have more respect for police than that, okay? I know that police can think on a higher level. I know that police can adhere to their training, and I know that they can do 2 things at the same time. And I know that if they don't do that, that they can be held to account, just like taxpayers who don't pay their taxes.
The reason why the city is in shambles.
I'm not going to disrespect police like you are.
Black
Okay,
people
I'm
like
not
you
doing
is
it.
the
I'm
reason
not doing
why
it, Wiley.
Chicago
I'm not doing it.
is
I'm not doing it.
shambles.
I'm not doing it, Wiley. I have too much
Chicago is
respect for
suffering
police, man. I'm sorry,
because
brother.
of
I can't do it.
You want
I
police.
cannot do it. I
Hello,
cannot do it, Wiley.
criminals.
I
How
think
was
you
your
and the
day?
abolitionists
Can you
need
please
to,
stop
meet
the
up.
right?
Y'all need to
That's
have
not
some
gonna
talks.
work.
Y'all have a lot in
That what
common,
Pooh
man.
did, Ray Ray.
Y'all got a lot in common,
These
yo.
what
Y'all
people
got a lot in
did.
common, and I just can't. I can't, Wiley.
Educated.
I just can't
They
do it. I
need a
cannot do
show
it, Wiley.
of
I just
force.
can't do it. You know, I have too much respect for police, Wiley. I cannot side with you on this. I cannot. I think you and the abolitionists, I think y'all need to meet up. I think y'all need to conspire and talk about how police are.
For what? The police did their job correctly. The police is the greatest thing ever, and black people in the city of Chicago, Inglewood in particularly, are running rampant in the city. Carlton, sir, respectfully, you are telling police officers to go look at a piece of paper. Okay, step 1. Hello, sir. Step 2, sit down. Step 3, how was your day? That's not going to work. That's not going to work. What's going to work is put your hands down. If you don't do it, if you pull out something, you will be neutralized. It works. You are blaming the police. Y'all sit there, y'all blame the police, and it's sad. If the police rob you right now, you will be dialing 911 with your chicken greasy hands and your watermelon smelling self. You will be dialing 911, period. So again, I want to say this, and I want to say it humbly. And I will never apologize for standing up for the police. And I want to say it on the behalf of myself. I was a young black man walking, coming home from work, minding my own business, not committing a crime, and I was robbed by 2 thugs that happened to be black. When I called the cops, I did not tell them what Carlton, the lawyer, said. Talk to them nicely. I said, arrest they A-words. They are criminals. Again, the problem in our community, and I say this humbly, we want black people to get a pass of their bad behavior. You said nothing about the parents. The parents have failed. These mothers are chasing men. These men are chasing other men and trans women, and they're not raising their children. And you want the police to do something that the parents should have done when they first had them. We must call out bad parenting. The parents is the huge part of the problem. When you have teenagers going downtown and running rampant downtown, the mayor said they're not mob activity. They're teenagers. Excuse me? If you're running downtown, robbing, destroying property, you are a mob, and those officers should arrest them, and it needs to be a special law, teenager or not. If you riot, if you destroy property, a minimum of 5 years in prison. When I talk about what's going on in the city of Chicago, I'm very passionate about that city. I was raised. I would love to go back to the city of Chicago. with a competent mayor, because Brandon Johnson is incompetent. So is the governor. We need true leadership that's going to call out bad behavior in the Black community. Why are we not calling that out? Why are we not saying stop running around riding dirty? Again, I stand with common sense. The city of Chicago is broken. They're losing residents every single year because we want officers to talk to people nicely and not allowing them to do their job. When I talk to Mayor Johnson's office, they're giving people checks. They're giving people free checks and money and vouchers. What about the Black people that's in there? And I am so sick of you so-called Black lawyers and civil rights leaders that want the police to talk to the criminals nicely and want the criminals to continue to commit crime. I will not stand for that. Never, ever, ever. The good white people, the good Black people want people to do right. And they do not want criminals running rampant in their neighborhoods. And my heart do ache for the family for losing their loved one. But my other side of my heart rejoices that the law enforcement did their job. The problem is we are putting all police officers in a box that they're evil. That's not true. Because when I had my experience with the police, I was tased, they did their work. But if I had a weapon and I discharged it towards the officer, I would not be here today. So please give me with all of that crap that they must be taught. They got to do it in a professional manner. If you are in war, throw out professionalism. It don't work. When you got people that are strapped, your job is to have a militant mindset. And if you don't comply with my orders and you decide to hit one of my brothers and sisters in blue, you deserve to be neutralized. I'm sorry. That niceness does not work. What about the Black woman that lost her child? When that man had multiple order of protection against him, they let him go free. And that young boy defended his mother. And he took all the stabbings. And it's so sad that we are letting people know, criminals, let them run rampant. And then we want to come against the police. That doesn't make any sense. Because I would tell you, Carlton and anybody in this chat, if somebody commit crime to you, you're going to want the officer to show a show of force. Not talk to them nicely, not to do it in a professional manner. You're going to want them to do their job. They can't do their job when you're giving them a manual how to be nice, when they're dealing with ruthless and evil people. I'm talking about the criminals that living on the west and the south side. That is an open secret. That's a secret that many Blacks don't want to take. Mayor Johnson don't want to take it. He want to straddle the fence. You can't. You either for criminal behavior or against it. You can't be neutral. You either for good policing or you're not. Because let's be clear. According to the data, there is majority great police officers that do their job, that risk their life every single day. They want to make it home to their families. And we're not saying nothing to the officer that was shot because we're too busy. Well, they didn't talk to the criminal nicely. He committed a crime, an unregistered weapon, rolling his window up and down. He already was a threat. And if you think that officer's like, oh my gosh, let me do my de-escalated training. No, oh my gosh, let me make sure he don't pull out something. And he did pull out something. Whether they said it nicely or not, he was going to do that because like most criminals of the world, their job is not to fear the police, their job to come back at the police. We need to put the fear of the law, the fear of the men and women in the community. These thugs don't fear their parents if they have them. They don't fear the police. If the parents and the son and daughter relationship is effed up, what the hell you think the relationship going to be with the police? That is just my opinion. And nobody can tell me just because I disagree is what professionalism is for a police doesn't make it seem like I want to defund the police. I don't stand to defund the police. I said fund the police more. We already dealing with a crisis in Chicago where there's not enough people in that want to be police officers. Why? Because you want to get them a manual, how to talk nice, that can't do their job, hands up, don't shoot. But what about the people that are dying in Inglewood by the hands of their own brothers and sisters? There is no protest. There is no march. But when an officer, it's a march? Baby, people are dying every day in the city. I rarely see Black Lives Matter movement. I rarely see a protest. You know why? Because we've been in condition to tell this lie that police are so bad, and in reality, they're not. The badness, the majority of it, if you have to weigh it between police and the community, some part of the community, is these criminals in the streets. That's a truth that we must address. That's a truth we must echo. And I'm sorry to my guests, but I was triggered to give my facts of defending the police. I stand for MCGA, Make Chicago Great Again. Now we're going to move on to our next subject here. Wow, I was not expecting to be this way, but the reason why we take on a different approach is because my audience, everybody is so used to everybody agreeing with each other. That's not real life. Get that out your head. We will have agree to disagree. And just because I take the side of the police, don't make me against my community. I'm for my community. Only the law-abiding people. The criminals, discard them from society. Put them behind bars. Because if you don't, then you will have what we have in Chicago, where it's spreading all over the city. That's all I'm saying. All right, so let's get into more criminals. The mayor of Dolton had her offices raided. And I believe this is just crazy. But because of the power structure, they're tired of this powerful Black woman. They want her gone. For whatever reason, okay? I also believe that her hair is laid, by the way, honestly. Tiffany Henyard is the mayor of Dolton. Where's the crime? I believe this is nothing but propaganda. She's the mayor of Dolton, Illinois. Dolton, Illinois is a small town, a small area of 20-some thousand people. But I personally believe that they're talking about this because they can't stand to see a Black woman in power. They say she went out of town on taxpayer dollars. Per the law, she can do that. They say that her staff member put something in the drink and she covered it up. Well, I need to see evidence of that. Yes, I see a civil suit, but just a civil suit doesn't mean that it happened. The threshold of a civil suit versus a criminal is very down. The legal threshold is down. And I'm so hurt that this woman do so much for Dolton. And the media is agitating this. The media from all over the country is talking about Dolton, Illinois, because they can't stand to see a Black woman having posters of herself. She's the mayor. We ain't talking about these other mayors that's taking trips, that's sleeping with escorts. But we coming out, and they're white, but we coming out, this Black woman, I stand with her. Number one, her city halls and or you call it village meetings get more publicity than all of her predecessors combined. She's making the youth more involved into politics, and they can't stand it because they know her career is going to be greater than Dolton. Then they mad that she's the Thornton Township in charge of that. She have a legal right to do that. Y'all acting like that's illegal. And she's a single mother. it's like when black women get in power, it's a problem. When black women say, I am the super mayor, it's an issue. Why can't black politicians lead with force? You want this black woman to have her head down, soft-spoken. That's not in her personality. And to see Roland Martin do an interview and then drag her is crazy. And two, I see this woman in handcuffs, thrown in a paddy wagon, fingerprinted. I believe she's innocent. And if the FBI can't investigate these nursing homes for bad mistreatment, why are we wasting time investigating her? There's plenty bad nursing homes in the state of Illinois that need to be raided, to be checked on the residents, do an unannounced raid, even in Texas. But yet we want to investigate or raid a politician. And we got nursing homes where residents are suffering every single day. And the FBI haven't stepped foot in those places. Because you know why? You know why they'll do no undercover sting operation? Because they know they're going to find a whole bunch of criminal behavior. But yet, we want to investigate the mayor of Dolton. She didn't commit no crime. The trustees ain't nothing but political wannabes. They just try to have a moment. And instead of the mayor, to my constructive criticism, sitting down with the trustees and the trustees working together, they're on the steps of having the state take over. Because all of them showing some type of incompetence. You're getting Lori Lightfoot to investigate. She couldn't even run Chicago. She ran Chicago in the ground. She was so out of order, it's crazy. But yet she's investigating the mayor. The mayor of Dolton, Illinois. Somebody type Tiffany Henyard, mayor of Dolton, Illinois. Can someone please do that for me? Or copy and paste that she is the mayor of Dolton, so the people that do not know who she is, so they can post about it. Thank you so very much. I do want to read a super sticker here. And I thank you to this woman. She just a saint, and that's her name. She said, I appreciate both of you. It's very refreshing to hear and see our brothers speak on something that actually matters, especially when you're speaking towards solutions. I do want to thank her for that super sticker. My heart just rejoiced today because y'all have came through for us, and people are upset because they said Wiley is trolling. I don't know the definition of trolling when I'm passionate about it and I'm keeping it real. And I love this woman. I love her style. She's an amazing mayor. She's an amazing politician. And two, I see otherwise. I could change my opinion. But as of right now, I feel like the media just forced the mayor, just trying to force her out. And I don't like that. I don't like that we're trying to force a black woman out. And then you got black women that want her out. This is crazy. This is unethical. This is plain on foolishness. There's plenty issues that Dolton should be talking about. How to increase educational funding, how to protect neighborhoods, how to fix roof for the veterans, how to do all these things. And some of that money she did bring to Dolton, but it's at a standstill because the trustees are mad that she's not playing ball. But yet you're holding taxpayer dollars hostage to prove a political moment? Are you crazy? Until I see the full report of her, of some type of fraud and she get arrested or whatever. But until then, I believe she didn't do anything wrong. And if she did, I would talk about it. But as of right now, I feel like it was because of the mayor trolling, not even trolling, just being herself. Amen. She was dressing like the man in New Jack City. So what? Everybody don't have to be a traditional type of politician. You could think outside the box. Obviously, it's working. Those meetings be packed. Now you got black folks that wasn't even involved into the politics of Dolton Nadia. She won the vote, I believe, by 80-something%. If she was so bad, why did she 80%, 80-something% of the vote? Make that make sense. All right. So I had to give my thoughts on that. Press 1 if you know who she is. That do not stay in Illinois. Press 2 if you don't know who she is. Press 1 if you know who the mayor of Dolton of Illinois is. Press 2 you do not know. Let me know in the chat. Press 1 if you know who she is. Press 2 you do not know who she is. Press 1 you know who she is. Press 2 you do not know who she is. Press 1 you know who she is. Press 2 you do not know. Press 1 if you know who she is. Press 2 you do not know. All right. D's okay. What where you from? Your city? T1000. Where you from? Queen B War. I believe you from Baltimore. MC, where you from? Juicy, where you from? Okay. Where you from? Let me see. 2. Okay. Who? Anybody else gonna press 1? New Jersey. And you heard about this woman. That's sad. That Austin. That's sad that this is going viral for what? Nothing. I'm in California, DC. You said DC. All right. Wiley, may I please be unblocked or unmuted from YouTube, sir? Okay, I will. I didn't know you were blocked. Hold on. Let me see. I don't think you're blocked. If you're blocked, I do apologize because like sometimes it do happen by mistake, but I will do it right now. Unblock you if you are blocked. I'm not going to be like Storm Monroe said, your name is blocked. Give me a second. Give me a second. I don't see that you're blocked. Oh, wow. Somebody blocked that person. I must have did that by mistake. Okay, what's your name on here? I don't see. Okay, what's your name on YouTube? Oh, you trolling. Girl, talking about, I guess we just didn't see was seeing eye to eye earlier. Girl, you trolling. Because you're not blocked. You really tried that. Okay, and I fell for it. I fell for it. I don't see your name that you're blocked. I don't see it. I don't see it. Oh, wait. I accidentally blocked that lady. Yeah, I don't see it. You're not blocked. Yeah, T1000, you're not blocked. Oh, they were trolling. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Terry. They were trolling. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. They were trolling. All right. They were trolling. But yeah, that's my whole thoughts on that when it came to that. But Simone Biles and I and I'm not trying to be shady or anything, but she just needs to shut up. Your husband said he was the catch. He's tall, good. Just shut up. I used to like her when her hair was nappy. Because right now, she's just doing too much. Oh, I'm so sad. Stop reading the comments. See, this is what I don't understand. Black women say, I'm independent. I don't care about what people say. But then you read the comments about what people say about you, and then you upset about it. Like, I don't understand it. If I can handle the comments, it took me time to do it, right? You've been famous a long time. You already know people are going to troll you in your hair. So if you know that, stop reading the comments. Me personally, because I was dealing with a very traumatic experience at the abuse at Hillcrest at North Dallas and the incompetence and neglect, Meg Tech's doing nurse's job at Walman Court of Plano. I knew that people are going to say my act being an advocate, you're because of your manic. And that's just not true. And I didn't get angry at them because I know they're uneducated and I know they don't have a degree in psychology. And I know they don't have a license. And I know they don't have a license to practice mental health or counseling. Because if they did, there is nobody in that profession that will say something like that and want to keep their licenses, period. So when it comes to this woman, Simone Biles, I just don't understand that she's so triggered about what her husband said in the comments. We know he's the catch, and you could be the catch, but you're worried about what people say. We don't care. What people do on the internet, it's not that they don't like Wiley. It's not that they don't care about Wiley. They do what they do. Their job as a comment or as a viewer is to give comments. There are some nasty comments that people give, but do you think I'm gonna do an interview and just start crying? That's the case. I'll be crying every day. Someone said Wiley is deranged. They learn these words, and then I say, well, what does that mean? Why do you say that? Just because I'm sitting down giving my opinion, it's a problem? Just like we was dealing about the nursing home crises. It's a problem for me exposing the neglect of those places? No. But do I get angry? Because I don't get angry at all or triggered because I've been doing this for so long. So that's to be expected. No different than when people were like dragging me on shows, on national shows about me. It doesn't trigger me because people love talking about Wiley and they claim they don't watch Wiley. I don't understand that. I don't get that. And I just also I feel as a young man that I'm proud that I'm living my dream. So when I get in my 50s, close to 60s, I don't have to worry about working hard. I can retire and go on vacation by myself and don't have to, or my beautiful wife, and don't have to pay for women to accept me. And as of right now, as a proud man that love to make love with women and men, I don't have to get acceptance for celebrities that don't care about me at all. I don't care about that. And they still watch me. When I walk in the room, I'm a celebrity. When I end the show, I'm a celebrity. I don't care that I'm taking a selfie with these two people. I don't care nothing about them. They all right. It would be good for my show. But if they do it, yes. If they don't, I don't care. I don't care if a celebrity don't come on my show. If they come, great. If they don't, hey, I'll have people that's quote unquote not a celebrity. Or I will make them a celebrity because I'm that powerful. My big fat tongue is that powerful. And the sad part about it is with this woman, you're allowing the public to sway your attitude, sway your vibe. You a gold medalist Olympian. Be that. Don't be a sad, weak, little person, black woman. Be a strong black magic and learn how to dust it off your shoulders. Because when I wake up and I become a human being and entertainer, everybody is just watch Wiley. And one of my critiques or people that love me, they said, Wiley, you helped a lot of people get where they are. Now it's time to put you first. And don't feel guilty about it. And that's why I love that about myself. And some people are mad that they're not the topic of discussion of Wiley because you're just not that interesting. You're just not. Just not. People move on. And then when you move on, they say, oh, he didn't say nothing about me today. No, I told you, once you lose relevance with me, I'm done with you. And they're upset about it. Just like we love Proud of Me. And I don't care what people say about her. Do I agree with her or not? Whether I agree with her or not, I love the fact that she have her moment and she come back. This is life. And I work hard. I'm learning how to work smart, not just hard. And we dedicated a 2-hour episode, a 2-hour segment on a serious subject, and we talk about this couple. At the end of the day, she rich. She ain't in a nursing home. And if she did have get in nursing care, it won't be a Hillcrest. But I also want to say to her husband, he is good looking, by the way. I mean, I would not be. Can I be messy? Ain't nowhere in the world I'm going to be worried about the comments and you got all this goodness. Simone Biles, if I had this blowing my back in, ain't nowhere in the world I'm going to be worried about Big Booty Judy 82. You got all this and you crying off a comment. Baby, your priorities is messed up. You got this good man, and I know he good in bed. I can smell it. And you cry, oh, they said that about me in the cop. Girl, who got time to read comments and you got this? See, this the problem. Stop acting like 50, 80-year-old women that ain't got no man, that gotta read comments, that gotta respond to Wiley. They ain't got nobody. They ain't got this at home. And then they gotta watch me. They are pathetic. If most women had this, they will be more nice at work. They won't be as bitter. They won't be as messy. They'll be too busy getting this. And they will be able to come, relieve, and be good. Most women keep up the most mess because they ain't got this. They don't have that. They go home alone. Only if they do have children, the children that agitated them, and after they go in their bedroom, a place of sanctuary, they don't have this to hump. They have a rose, if that even work. They got their fingers, but they're too tired to do that. You ain't got this to eat your box. You got this to eat your box, and you worried about the comments. Girl, have several seats. I'm not giving you no sympathy. You got all this to eat your box. Baby, he should lick all the sadness out of you. Talk back to me in this chat. You got all that good man at home. And you crying, I won't have the time. Baby, my neck will be red. Chest will have all type of hickeys. And my sweet lily pad will be full of pleasure. But you have a lot of people that say, I don't let the comments bother me. I'm a strong black woman. And you scrolling on there because y'all allow the internet to wear y'all. And see, me as a person that does this all the time, when I'm done, I don't read the comments. I'm just done. and I focus on my life. Now, because I'm running a business and it's busy, so sometimes I don't have time to watch television, and sometimes I don't have time to pleasure myself because I'm tired. Because every day you working from the morning all the way day. And then people say, how does it feel to be an entrepreneur? It feels a lot of work. It's a lot of work because you got to know how to get advertisement. You got to know how to talk to investors. You got to do proposals. You got to know how to talk to somebody in Hollywood like Me. You got to know how to talk to somebody and that does corporate stuff like Nate 702. You got to know how to talk to people in Baltimore about their politicians like Love Maria. You got to know how to talk to people in Las Vegas in the entertainment section that sing like Tayy. You got to know how to do all of these complex issues, and yet you still got to do the greatest point, entertain. Then you got to book the guests. Then you got to book the guests for tomorrow, etc. You got to make sure they come. You got to do follow-up, But I do it because I love it. Baby, you got a husband that loves you. Hump your husband, get some babies, and sit down. Do what K. Michelle told Beyonce, have some babies and sit down, even though he got a cancer. Now she's struggling to on the show. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a man that got it all together. I'm not. But I'm happy that I have a choice who I want to bring in my life. That I'm not just bringing anything to settle. Because as a man and a man that is building a legacy, I don't want my wife or my husband or both have to suffer financially. Because when it was a sister that called into the show, I felt bad for that sister. She had to sleep on the phone with me on the air. No man in sight. That made my heart ache. That you ain't got nobody to talk to. You got to talk to a stranger that's online, even though we family, but still though. You should at least been having somebody wearing that box out and you moaning and hanging up the phone. But sadly, that's the reality of some black women that watch this show and my heart ache. And then we have some that got a man, Tasha and Dover Queen, they pulling back because they got men. And I talk to them when I can. But my heart do ache for women, not for women that chose to be single, never had a man, is virgin, but for the women that know how that oven feel, and they want somebody to go inside it. A lot of women is just so frustrated because they don't have this, and she crying. Girl, if you don't stop. There's plenty of women in the chat. If I ask them, okay, women in the chat, press 1, you would love to have a man like this at home. Press 1. Press 1 if you would love to have a man in that white at home. Press 1. Don't give me your side-like comments. Press 1 and be honest. If you would love to have a man that's standing right there on the side of Simone Biles, press 1. Press 1. If you would love to have a man that's standing on the side of her, press 1. Or no. I press 1. I would love to have that. No shade. The answer is 1. And I'm going to put another one, baby. I'm going to put another one up in there. Because I ain't playing no games. I would love to have that. Who wouldn't love to have a man like that? Okay? And then they say too pretty. Too sassy. They want somebody rough. All right. That's your opinion. But I want a man that is a great alpha and strong and black. And then AJ, I want her to get his money and she ain't got no man. I want her to get his man up, he ain't got no man. Like, come on. And see, women and men, particularly the women, you got to stop reading things to be offended. If you keep reading, something will offend you. I can read a lot on the chat. It don't offend me because I got experience. But if you inexperienced of comments, stop reading. You rich. I can understand if you was poor. Poor folks do that. He said this. That's why they poor, because they reading the comments. Go travel with your man. Go to Italy. Go to Jamaica. Go to the Bahamas. Stop reading them comments. Most of them people on there, they got a picture. They are incompetent. They ignorant. They is uneducated. And they're trying to trigger you because they don't have nobody standing beside them. Only thing they got standing beside them is runny nosed children and with poopy diapers. Stop allowing him to what he said. He's the catch. Get under your skin. And you can say, I'm the catch. And then y'all can make a record. We catch together. Just stop. It wasn't even that serious. The dude said he was the catch. I didn't really feel no type of way. But women that don't have a man feel some type of way because they want you to break up with your man so you can join the struggle, sad, depressed Black woman club. That's what they want you to join. The sad, depressed Black woman club. And it's the demonic. Because if you take half of that, dragging somebody in the chat and apply is to cleaning your yoni and getting them freckles off your face and taking a good bath in the shower, putting on some good clothes, then maybe you can attract this. But in reality, because of all them babies and different baby daddies, you may not have this at home. And because your man cheated here and there, you didn't want to take it and you dumped him. He was halfway decent by coming home and giving you some of that wood, but you wanted to yourself, the average man ain't gonna do that. He ain't even gonna do that. He gonna cheat on the side. That don't exist. It ain't too many men that's gonna be faithful to women. It ain't. I live in the real world. You live in a fantasy land. It ain't too many men left in this world that is faithful to one woman. You can challenge me on that all day long. It's not too many men in this society that is faithful to one woman. Okay? And we can open up the phone lines on that. Anybody want to challenge me on that? You can challenge me on that. You can call in right now. Monterey's post a number. But there's not too many men that is faithful with one woman. It's not too many that exist. The son got a little piece on the side. They got a side of some dinner rolls on the side. All right? I'm just keeping it real, y'all. And I love entertaining y'all. I really do. But what people try to do is they want Wiley to be this and that. Shut up. I'm going to be me. If you can't be with me for being me, bye. I won't miss you. And that's a promise. Because we got other topics that we're going to get into this week. Next week, we're doing it full time. This is our second video that we did. We working tirelessly to entertain. But I just think people, because we picked on a topic, people is calling me all over the country. I do want to thank you. I'm going to put the Wiley Show thing we down with this couple. I wish I had that man on. We had got a couple of emails from folks for like nursing homes. It was like so overwhelming of the stories that we're hearing from folks across the country. It's really, really sad. And out of all the emails that I've read, they don't have the resources. Most of them don't even have $100 to give. So a lot of advice I was just giving for free for family members. We talked to a lady that was, I believe in her 70s. And she was talking and inquiring that they're telling her that she had to leave her home. And we was working with her, and she found out she did not have to leave her home. Someone lied to her, and now she's at home, and the home health agency is in contact with her, and it was just amazing. We're not taking guardianship. We're not doing power attorney. We ain't doing none of that. We're just advising, and she was so amazed that she could stay in her home. I met her granddaughter on the phone. Her granddaughter have agreed to come throughout the week. granddaughter have purchased a Ring camera to watch her grandmom, and other family members have contributed. Home health have worked, have communicated, and she's trying it. I told her to try it, and I'm checking in with her every day. Been checking in with O'Neal every day. He's been checking in with me every day, and it's been great. But it's been stressful. Not even stressful because I know this area, but they don't know. So I have a tendency of just talking. And like today, I just did something so well. I was listening. And when you listening and I'm taking the information, even though I know what they're saying, heard it over and over, but most of them does need someone to hear their voice about the mistreatment that they're facing in long-term care facilities around the country. So, and it is called nursing home. They call it long-term cares. I'm gonna say the word that everybody call it, nursing homes. So I was getting multiple phone calls and emails, and I thank you all for that because you didn't have to do it. A sister, I mean, y'all have really came through for me. A sister said, "Hey, Wiley, do this to get a cup of coffee." I didn't need to buy a full cup of coffee. I just kept it. So if I need to get on the bus or the train to get to places, due to the fact we're not going to like nursing homes and different things because under my advisement of security, people that I have a friend that works in security, and due to the fact these nursing homes are trying to do things dirty, so I'm advising virtually. I can advise in nursing homes because they're evil. They are upset that we are even doing this, and especially in Texas, they don't like it for some odd reason. They don't like people advising them not to be in a long-term care facility. Like it's gonna hurt their pockets. Crazy. So we're working on that. So contributions will be great. I'm trying to make sure everything is up and up. Because everything I'm just doing on my free time, you know what I'm saying? But I'm still able to go live and everything. And I love that you all contribute and everything. I had a call out of Georgia. It was just a lot of people are interested. And with the brother O'Neal situation, his wife have to get surgeries or they want to do surgery or they're telling him some type of surgery. So y'all pray for Brother O'Neal, man. Like he's 70-some years old. His wife love him. He loves his wife, and he did sleep, so he sound much better. So I told him he didn't text me or call me again because before the show we talked, and I told him, brother, I have to prepare for the show because I try to take a break from that and I try to listen to music so I can mentally prepare for celebrity gossip and that situation. So I do appreciate him for calling and keeping me aware. And the people that he's talking to, they give him the same answer. They say, "Well, we already know," and blah da 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 da. And you know what they're saying. I kept hearing this word. It is not my area of expertise. It's not my area of expertise. So, and what they're saying is, I don't care. Anything else I can help you with. That's what they're saying. But now, because I'm doing this, it's helping me to be a better human being. So I do want to thank you. We got one more topic that we got to get into. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to post a picture of that. If you all don't mind. If you all don't mind. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to post a picture. And this is, I hope she don't get dragged. Y'all better not drag Look Him. So give me 1 second. Because I got some things to say about that. Okay? All right, y'all enjoy the show. Every state and their family can take care of them. Oh, you was behind, but we here now. And thank you for coming through. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I put wow, X is just in the building. Like X is taking over. Shout out to people on X. For the first time in my career, it's been more people on X. That's because we've been getting more traction. So I do want to I do want to thank the people on X, and we're going to be talking about Lil Kim. And I don't want you all to be upset with me, but we are talking about Lil Kim and her new boo. I met him actually. All right. Okay. So Lil Kim and her boo. Everybody, this is the artist, and his name is Tayy Brown. Tayy, Tayy Brown. And you know, I love how Lil Kim is using her beauty and likeness to introduce an artist. But I have an issue with it because she's getting more publicity and her artist is getting lost. And I believe they focusing more on the relationship because this brother don't have a hit. And he's going to have to use Lil Kim as an introduction into the industry, which he getting traction. That's a photo from I believe from Vibe magazine. But what he needs to do is do videos by himself. It's okay to use that relationship, but you need to be coming on the Wiley show. You need to be coming on the Wiley show. You need to be coming on the Wiley show so we can have conversations and drive viewership and traction to your music. Because it is sad that I don't know none of your songs. Because I don't want to listen to your songs when you're just forcing Lil Kim relationship or being with Kim. So why would I rush? What are you doing to make me get involved, get in tune into your music? You got to start doing your music. You got to start posting that more. Like you're posting more of Lil Kim, but less about your music. You are, I believe, a rapper, so I need to see you spit the bars and not eat a Lil Kim Yoni. It's that simple. Because if you come out and say, hey, I'm lit, I'm a rapper, okay, cool. But the public will be in the chat. Press 1 if you heard of his music. Press 2, you never heard of a song of Tayy Brown. Press 2, you never heard of a song of Tayy Brown. Press 1, you have. I want to see what the people have to say. Press 1, you heard of a song of Tayy Brown. Press 2, you haven't heard of a song of Tayy Brown. Press 1, you heard a song of Tayy Brown. Press 2, you have not heard of a song of Tayy Brown. Press 1, you have heard. Press 2, you haven't. Many people have not heard of a song of Tayy Brown. And that is a sad point. All right? Wow. Okay, little black boy, you beautiful. Little black girl, you are enough. When times get hard, always remember to put God first. I do want to thank everybody for tuning into this show. We're going to be back tomorrow. We got more topics to get into. We're going to be in Vegas April 26th through the 28th. I thank everybody for contributing to the show for us. And thank you, Tour Bay Bay Squad and the producers. We're going to be in Vegas at the Palace Station Hotel Casino. Cash up us at $ Marquise Wiley 28, Zelle WileyShow@gmail.com. And we want you all to contribute to our show. 5, 10, 2, 3. Y'all have done it right now. Y'all have contributed to the show. Some people have done it today. So continue. We love super stickers. We love it. But to get it directly, we love that. Okay. All right. So we've been on for 3 hours and we'll be back. And let me know how I could do the show better. I know y'all go drag me with that when we had Brother Carton on the show. He kept saying, I ain't no Carl Winslow. All right, y'all. Y'all be blessed. Peace.